Hey everybody, welcome.
Hi guys.
Our live here. We are going to give it a couple minutes, let people start logging on. We had so many people register for this live, so hopefully it's going to be a good one full of really good questions and we can answer them for you guys. Hi Kim, hi Kitty Glitter, hi Vladimir. Let's see, Olivia, thanks for joining us guys.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Taylor, hello. Lori Bailey, hi Lori, thanks for joining us. Debbie, thank you. Jules, thanks Jules. From Texas, huh? Oh, hopefully you weren't in the path of that hurricane that went through. I think that mostly hit Florida though, huh? So it looks like we're getting quite a few people jumping on. So Disney May, oh, we're Disney fans, huge Disney fans. Janine, oh, hey, from Ohio, Lori. Let's see. Michelle, Julia. We just decided we were gonna do a Q&A. We started watching Big Love again, and so we have some thoughts on Big Love that we wanted to go through. And then we've had so many questions. I posted these videos on my YouTube channel. I have a podcast over there on YouTube and had a couple questions that came through over there as well. So we thought we would do another Q&A just so that we could start having anybody ask any questions. So if you guys have any questions, please, we don't have a moderator today, so we're gonna try to just scroll through and get to the questions as we go. But we've been watching Big Love, and truthfully, we watched it, and the first episode really gave me kind of some PTSD. There's a theory floating around out there that Brady Udell is the one who wrote Big Love, and he had interviewed my dad ahead of time and then wrote a book called The Lonely Polygamist. And Punk Rock Polygamist, he's here on TikTok, and he's the one who brought this to my attention, that there was this book out there. So I asked my mom about it. She confirmed that yes, that was true. And then Brady Udell, I think you say Udell or Udell is what I think it is. So then he, as Taylor says, I follow Punk Rock Polygamist. He's great. Yeah, we actually grew up. I grew up with his wife, and so know him pretty well. He's
Thanks for the follow.
Yeah, he's such an amazing guy. Just followed you. Thank you so much for the follow. So Brady Udell interviewed my dad, and then wrote this article called The Lonely Polygamist, and then turned it into a book. And then they loosely based the show Big Love on that book. And so I love how your husband supports you while you take the lead telling us about everything true love. I know, he's a good guy. I just got to tell him to talk more. Oh, damn it. We were going to give you a shot of whiskey again and we forgot.
Good.
But because sometimes he gets a little quiet.
I'm getting better at talking to people.
Yeah. Being
social.
I tend to be, I feel like we're both like a combination of introverts, extroverts.
Yeah.
So it depends where we're at, as if we're extroverted or introverted.
And I'm just nervous too, because more people are watching this, and when I don't know who they are, it's actually kind of cool, and I can tell them all about us growing up. But then when all of a sudden I get worried that
his family members hop on and start watching him, and then he gets a little nervous.
Like, oh.
Yeah. So then Brady Udell ended up helping out with the Big Love show. So in Big Love, he has all the wives. He's got the compound wife, he's got the cute little wife, and then his first wife had cancer. My mom had cancer. And so you can see some of the similar references. So when we watched that very first episode, oh my gosh, my PTSD came in full swing for sure. Vegas says, enjoy your post. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. Oh, somebody sent a happy Chief Office.
Happy Friday.
Officer, thank you. Thanks. Yeah, happy Friday to everybody else. Fridays tend to work best for us because we're done with a work week. Well, we're not done, but we have our work week wrapped up. So Yeah. So what did you think of Big Love?
Really enjoyed it. There's one of the questions we had last time was, do we get worried coming on here and doing these posts based on the way we grew up? So,
yeah.
And in Big Love, it shows some of the threatening people, some of the little people that will threaten, and that's where I was like, oh my goodness.
Join my team. Thank you.
I forget. I really do forget, since I've been away from them for more of my life than I was ever there.
Yeah. Cory
but-
never got married. Let's just give him a real quick background. So Cory, we were both born and raised in the AUB, but Cory was raised in Montana on a compound, and I was raised here in Salt Lake in the suburbs, in normal like suburb area, and went to the church down here. So my dad is now the leader, the prophet, or whatever of the AUB, and same church that the Browns came from, same church that my 5 wives came from. So there's a couple other people who have gone on television, and they're all from the same group. So anyway, okay, so that's kind of who we are, and where like we have the background to talk about this kind of stuff. So okay, carry on.
And so no, I left when I became an adult. As soon as I was 18, I was out of the house, and kind of came down here and moved all around, worked all over the United States. So
yeah,
and then settled in down here in Utah, and met her.
Yeah.
So
and I actually got married in the AUB, and became, my ex-husband did not have a second wife. We dated and courted for a while, but never actually married anyone. And then I had 3 children with him. Then we got married, and we have 2 children. So we've got 5 children together. Sarah says context is everything, and there's so little from the AUB out there so we thank you. Yeah, that was one of the biggest concerns that they had about a lot of these people doing television shows, is that it was going to expose the AUB, and they didn't want to be exposed. Yeah. My dad has always been the media contact person. So if anyone does articles or stories or anything on the AUB, he's the person that they would contact. And I don't think he's that anymore, because he's now the prophet. Somebody says, did people in your religion, Tonic says, did people in your religion get sent away if they were not following the rules good enough? Yes.
Yeah, so when I was getting ready to leave and move out, they sent me a letter saying, get out and don't come back. You're not welcome on priesthood property again.
Yeah.
And I was, my family's up here, I'm going to come back on priesthood property. Well, it was without permission. And I would call my parents and tell them I was coming up. They'd be like, yeah, we'd love to see you. So I never asked priesthood permission to go back up there. I got a few threats about
blanket party threats. People are going to beat him up
and stuff like that. But I still went up and visited my family. One of the biggest things that I wanted was to know my little brothers and sisters, and let them know that if they ever needed to get out, I would be here to help them. So, and most of 99% of my brothers and sisters have left the AUB. So there's a few still left in there, but most of my family has been out of the AUB as soon as they became adults. So.
Yeah. So Johnny says, doesn't that kind of happen in polygamy families where the boys, when they reach a certain age, and then they kick them out because they don't want that kind of competition. Am I right about that? Yes, you're very right about that. That does happen. So. Yeah, it happens a lot, and unfortunately, I wish that it didn't happen like that, but it does. And so we're just going to kind of scroll through here. We don't have a moderator, like we said. So do they really take wives away? Yes, they really do that too. I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen. Well, Cory's dad had that happen to him. And I don't know how deep you want to get into that story, but yes, it really does happen, where they come in and then they tell the wife, or tell the husband, you're not worthy enough anymore. So therefore, we're going to give your wife to someone else.
Yeah. We'll disfellowship you, and then but then the wives are given the release, and they can choose to take it or not. And then some of them are like, no, we're not going to do it. So then the AUB will send a threatening letter to them stating that, well, if they stay with their husband, they are to be disfellowshipped just the same for the same crimes that the husband may or may not have committed. So
Cory's mom was in town this last weekend, and he was like, you got disfellowshipped, and she's like, no, I didn't.
She brought her letters down that she was given
from the AUB presidency. Yeah.
And so I read through them for her and said, right here, it's just telling you that whatever crimes were committed, you stay with him, then you're guilty of the same crime.
Thing, so. Even though you didn't commit the crime, but you chose to stay married to a man or a woman that committed these crimes, so they're now your crimes too. It makes zero sense, but AUB
it's against their religion, but it's something that they follow deeply.
And they like to make the rules up as they go along.
It depends on who it is trying to get rid of them.
Yeah, so. Afton, gosh, that happens so much in the FLDS too. It seems so similar. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she's from the FLDS, and they are very similar in a lot of ways. So back in the day before Warren Jeffs became the prophet, then the prophet of the AUB and the prophet of the Warren Jeffs community would talk a lot and collaborate a lot, because there was a split. They all used to be one big polygamist community, and then there was a big split, and so and it's typically always over who holds the keys of the priesthood, who's in charge.
Who gets the tithing?
Yeah, who gets the tithing? That's what we think it is. A big portion of it is who gets the tithing. Ellen says, "Hey guys, hi Ellen, thanks for joining us." Adrian says, how did your dad become the prophet? So most of the time it's by seniority. And so if everyone else the Mormon church has a prophet and then 12 apostles and then a council of 70, all, different levels of leadership. So my dad just kind of worked his way up the ranks, and he became one of the 12 apostles when I was 19 years old. And then this last prophet that died couple of years, I think it's been 3 years now. I think it has been. I'm pretty sure. Yes. I'm pretty sure it's been 3 years now since my dad became the prophet. And so the prophet before him passed away, and so it went to seniority. It doesn't always happen like that.
They shook it up a little bit. They did some skipping over senior men, and then the last prophet passed away before he could assign who he was going to do next, and so it went to the senior council member. So interesting.
Yeah. So okay. So do you guys think Cody wanted to be the prophet at one time? I don't think anybody really wants to be the prophet other than they're the head honcho, and so I don't know if Cody was ever really going for that position.
He would have needed to gain notoriety and become a council member.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, he's never become a council member.
Yeah. Brady Williams of My Five Wives would have been closer to a prophet because he was at least a bishop before he left. Yeah. So that's how my dad became the prophet. I've gotten to live and work all over the U.S. What a great experience. Yeah, he's loved that. Do you think that, no, Cody, okay, happy for you guys. Thank you. Cody wanted to throw out Janelle's boys, seemed very lost boys. I'm glad she had their back.
Yes.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, that's the interesting, it's good, strong mothers like that will stand up to.
Yeah. I forgot to turn this light on.
The priesthood or whoever it was to.
Right. And so a lot of times it is the mother. So we forgot to turn on our ring light. Like, why have a ring light if you're not even going to use it, right? Oh, geez. There you go. Fix that. Okay, come on. There we go. That's a lot better. Okay, sorry about that. We put on the ring. You can tell we're such newbies.
Yeah. We're learning.
I know, we're learning it. We're trying to actually get a platform where we can go live on YouTube too, because I have a podcast on YouTube and it's blowing up. It's starting to get a lot of attention. So there was one point that the leadership of the AUB wanted to kick out a bunch of Cory brothers. And my mom actually, I didn't know Cory at the time, but my mom actually went.
Already been gone for years.
Yeah, he'd left. But my mom went in to the priesthood council members and she actually swore at them. Good job, Mom. But she actually swore at them, telling them that if there was no hope for these boys in this family, what hope would she have for her boys? So my mom actually went in there. My mom reminds me a lot of Janelle. And so my mom went in there to stand up for these boys because they wanted to get them out, kick them out. I'm happy to oh, thank you, Ellen. Our daughter's actually going to be here in just a minute. She's going to help us. But thank you so much for the offer. And it says, are there several polygamous groups? Estimate numbers. The number is somewhere between 50,000 and 60,000 from Canada down to Mexico. And there's just, I think there's too many different groups to name.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I knew some people from the FLDS growing up.
Yeah.
I knew them from some people from the Kingston group, the Barlow group. So I hung out with a bunch of the guys from all those groups that had kind of been booted.
Yeah.
And so, and AUB. So, and then since I've been gone, just keeping in touch with family up in Montana, that group has even split.
Yeah, that last prophet,
times, so.
The prophet before my dad was extremely controversial. And one of his daughters was on My 5 Wives, and she accused him of inappropriate behavior with her. And yeah, I said inappropriate behavior. I swear TikTok hates every word that we want to use, because unfortunately it's like, that's just descriptive of what we grew up in. And so we're trying to be more careful about the words that we use. But yeah, there are, and so that caused a huge division in the AUB, and the AUB lost a lot of members because of that.
Yeah.
Somebody says, Carby Girl, thanks, says, wow, this is so interesting. Thank you for sharing your experiences. Oh, Corey's little sister's on here again. There she is. Callie says, Cory, your family that are still in the AUB, are they treated differently because you left?
Yes and no. The family members that have stayed up there, they were always kind of treated poorly, if you were.
Corey's family was considered a sub-family.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And
I didn't know that when I dated him, or else, I mean, I would have had him fill out an application.
Yeah. I don't think they've been treated any worse or any better since I left.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Corey's definitely... I have definitely elevated Corey's status in the AUB. You're welcome, baby.
Thank you. But I'm not in the AUB, so.
I know, darn it. We forget that part. Okay, all about families, but tearing them apart, hypocrisy. It's true. Yep. It is so true. That is one of the craziest things. And I say that to my dad all the time. Like, you guys tear apart families all the time. The polygamist decries these years. I'm not sure. Heidi Rodriguez said the polygamist decrees these years. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Maybe shoot me off another question. I'll answer that one. E says, I know you guys aren't members, but do you know what members of the AUB think of the Brown family? So my dad was their advisor when they first started the show, and they were extremely told not to do the show. They were advised very, very strongly not to do the show, and they chose to do it anyways. But Christine was in a group with one of my other mothers, one of my dad's other wives, and that's how the show got brought about, apparently, is from what I understand. And they offered it to, but my dad's been interviewed by people all over the world. He's different, Germany, all sorts of. And so his other wife that worked in that same little collaboration with Christine, she just said, no, we're not interested in doing any more interviews like that. And so then Christine and their family decided to just follow you. Thank you guys. So nice. You guys, so many people are following us. Thank you. Do you play sports, be in a band, choir, be in a play at the AUB school? Yeah, they do. So Chief Officer asked that question. Do you play sports? Can you be in a band, choir, or play at the AUB? They're not in like competitive sports with other schools.
We played basketball growing up. We played different, it was mostly church ball. We'd all go over and play church ball. Baseball. Yeah. Played baseball growing up.
But not against other high schools.
No, just within
the community.
Because we were on a compound.
Right.
So you just come over and they'd get enough people together and we sit and play. So
yeah. And so then they do a lot of school plays. In fact, Corey took our daughter out there because one of his brothers, who's still very active in the AUB, Their kids go to the private school out there, and took our daughter and went and saw that school play. And somebody says, you keep stumbling on community. Is there another C word you want to use there? Yeah, definitely there is. But I'm trying to be more careful about not using the word cult or culture. But yeah, it's a funny story. So when I did my very first, my sister was interviewed by one of these gossip columnist ladies, and I did a rebuttal video on it, and I used the word cult in there. Oh my gosh, my dad lost his mind. He picked up the phone and called me, and I'm 48 years old when I printed this, and let me know that I was never to use that word online again.
You asked if we were religious. I wouldn't consider us religious. We're not part of any organized religion. But I do still have what I feel like is spirituality. Be a good human being.
I'd say we're very spiritually in tune.
Yeah.
We just don't practice any man-made religion.
Yeah, I was trained up in so much dogma growing up that I've basically eliminated most religious beliefs out of my and
we've raised our children that way too. Mm-hmm. We want them to find their own path and what it is that they want to do. In the 5 kids, which one is Colorado City, Arizona? That one is the FLDS. Mm-hmm. So they used to be up here, and they used to be up in the Salt Lake area in a big compound up in the mouth of the canyon. And then I think it was when Warren took over, then they moved everyone down to Colorado City. And now I believe they're separated into... thank you guys so much, Junkos, for the gift. And Library Girl, thank you so much.
You guys are awesome.
We're seeing these gifts come in and trying to give a shout out to those 2 that come through. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Aftonic says, wow, I didn't even know that. They were just talking to each other and giving each twisted ideas.
Oh, the prophets communicating with each other.
Probably.
Yeah. That's what I'm assuming.
That's what I'm assuming you're meaning is the 2. Yeah. Well, actually what it was, I was with my dad one Sunday morning, and he was talking to one of the 12 apostles in the Polygamist group, and they were talking back and forth that he had just gotten off the phone with Rulin Jeffs, and they were warning them about the underage marriages and telling them that they were getting too aggressive with the underage marriages, and they were strongly advising against the FLDS to keep doing these underage marriages. So that's where a lot of the communication came in, and that's when they started to do that is when the AUB completely took themselves and separated themselves. They didn't even want to be known as FLDS in any way, shape, or form with those underage marriages. Jennifer Moore says, it seems to work that way in our church, and I'm LDS. Okay, I know we got to catch up on these questions. How do most polygamous men financially support their families? Most of them honestly don't. They're some of the women will be on welfare. I didn't know.
It depends on how big the family are.
The women will always work the children. I mean, we both had to work at super young ages.
Yeah, I was working probably we had a farm up in where we were at.
Yeah.
And I worked all summer on that farm. We were doing hay, changing the pipes, planting.
Yeah.
We had 13 acres of potatoes that we would harvest every year and then trade with the community. Our community was kind of set up as a united order where we had potatoes, we raised chickens and turkeys and
they would trade amongst each other in the community.
Sheep, and then we would raise those up. Then when we do slaughter, we had big deep freezers that we had all the frozen turkeys and chickens in. We had a big potato pit, and then people would come and barter. There was a dairy up there, so we would barter milk for turkeys and potatoes and all sorts of stuff like that. So, and I was working at my little brother was 10 and I was 11, and we did all the pipe changing. We'd get up at 6 in the morning and change pipes, and then we'd go back at 6 at night and change pipes.
We've both seen some good hard days of work in our life, that's for sure.
Been working since I could
Since I could remember too.
Yeah.
I started ironing clothes for people outside of my house, and of course babysitting. I started babysitting a lot at 8 years old. Okay, Robin says, in the first season, Cody made comments about his good behavior in the AUB, granted him more wives. I don't know if that maybe was said in jest or not, but it is true. I mean, you hold a good standing, and you're able to get more wives than if you don't. So that is true. Hi from Xenia, Ohio. Hi, May. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, and they're paying tithing in, and so if you get a good job, you're making good money, and the priesthood can see that because they can see your 10%.
Right, that's true.
What you're making, then that could qualify you to find another wife. Oh, he's making enough; he could take care of another family.
Right. Somebody says, I feel like once a man finds a favorite wife, there's no way to function around that. I would agree with that statement, Sarah. Thank you for that statement. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's really hard. So my dad had a favorite wife, and it was not my mom. And then a couple wives later, he married the next favorite wife. And the first favorite wife had a really hard time with that. And then there was just like this constant battle in our family back and forth, and it was so hard. And fortunately, we all lived in separate houses around the valley, but Corey's dad's favorite wife situation was way worse because they all shared a house, or they all lived right next door to each other. It says, do you remember, or were you aware of Christine's mother leaving? How did your mother react? Absolutely, yeah. My mom was really good friends with her. I knew her very well too. We were really good friends. My dad was really good friends. My dad's best friend was Christine's dad, Rex, his brother. So yeah, we were it was funny. It wasn't funny. It was interesting because she was made out to be such a horrible person. She had gone to therapy, and she started to get into some witchcrafty healing, such as Reiki energy healing and that kind of stuff. And so everybody painted her out to be this evil, corrupt person who had lost her way. And it was really sad because Christine's mom is amazing. Has all of Cody's wives left him for reals? Yes, they all have.
Well,
that
Robin,
we're aware of, except for Robin. Yeah.
Robin's still with him.
Yeah.
So.
Somebody says, I visited a lot at Colorado City and Arizona, and there's a lot there. Yeah. There's still quite a few people down there that live down there. I know that a good portion of the city's moved out, but there still is a lot of people. Chief Officer says, do polygamy men have wills? How? Okay, so we're both personally going through this right now, and it's very discouraging.
So usually they, their will or what they've signed, it depends. Up in where my dad was when he passed on, it was actually, he had, what do they even call it, where they consecrate all that they built and all that everything that they built and earned to the priesthood, and then in hopes that the priesthood will take care of their wives when they pass on.
Yeah.
And so
everything that they own materialistically goes to the priesthood, and then they're hoping that the priesthood will in turn take care of their families while they're gone.
Inheritance doesn't work for children.
No. How does inheritance work for children not on a birth certificate?
Oh.
I don't know. Most of the
men
men
don't see inheritance.
I know. I'm like, what inheritance? We were broke. We were too poor to have an inheritance. Okay, underage brides in the AUB, Brown say no, but I've seen it on, well, I got married 8 days into 17. So the prophet that originally started the AUB, there's rumor he married a 15-year-old. So it does happen. It's rare. It doesn't happen a lot. But yes, I was 8 days into 17 when I got married, and he was 25. It does happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a product of it. Yeah. So Nicole, there isn't any more. Most moved to Texas. Yeah, most moved to Texas. Why was his family inferior family? Background, wealth, number of daughters?
Came from outside. My dad was military, not raised with any of the Mormon background, and he came in. Refer to Cody. Bad name.
Sorry, I shouldn't scroll so you can't read those while you're telling your story. Squirrel.
Yeah, squirrel. But basically, he came in. He had joined the Mormon church for a little bit, and then went right into polygamy. Mm-hmm. Started learning polygamy, and He was
good friends with the original.
Good friends with Rulon.
So they talk about Christine coming from royalty. So Christine's grandpa is the one who started the AUB, and he is the one who converted Cory's dad and baptized Cory's dad. And then Cory's dad actually baptized my dad, but my dad was converted by Christine's grandfather.
And so he came in, and within a couple years, he had gained 5 wives under Rulon. And then Rulon was murdered.
And that was threatening to a lot of the other men, because Cory's dad was very good looking and very charming. And so that's where he gets all of this from. And so, but for them, that was threatening, because he was coming in and one attractive wife after another wanted to go with him. Somebody says, I love it when Cory's about to refer to Cody as a bad name and then holds his tongue.
I'm editing.
We're learning.
My brain.
I know. We're trying to give, honestly, our honest
upbringing.
Yeah, our experiences. And then also we have a lot of people in the AUB that we still love, and we don't want to be offensive as well. So there's a line there that we're trying to be careful with.
Yeah, some are members of the AUB able to seek health care when needed or routine? Is that what it is? Thank you for sharing your story. So I don't know about everybody up there, but my dad was military, and so he would go over to the veterans thing. He was
their family had it different because he was veteran, and so most of the kids were taken care of for that.
Veteran, and so yes, we go down to the doctor when we needed to have things taken care of and stuff like that. We never did. We never had health care unless my mom got it through her job. And so I think it just depends on the family. It says Robin says many people have said Cody and his wives were on welfare and had several bankruptcies. I've heard that too. Probably.
That's probably true.
It was interesting because my dad and his first wife were both military, retired. And so they both had pensions, I guess, or retirement. And then 2 of the other wives also were retired professionals. And so we had a decent...
Oh, wow. Thanks,
Key.
Thanks, Kiana.
We had a decent income in a way, and my dad's first wife was...
ex-military as well.
Military and medical. So we had like a live-in medic inside the house. She was awesome.
And my mom, she was a professional secretary most of her life, and then she got cancer. And then she decided she could not afford the health care for that, so she opened her own health food store. So now she's got a couple health food stores around the valley that she is no longer a part of, but they still continue to use her name. Are more people leaving than staying? It feels that way. Oh, thanks, Kiana.
Yes. They've had quite... So when my dad first came in, they were going around and bringing tons of people in. There was a lot of people that Dad brought in that he knew in the military. They had this huge boom around Rulon, and I don't know if they go out and proselyte anymore or teach people. I guess a couple years back, some lady came in and played like she was interested in it, and then she wrote an article about it, and so that kind of got them all leery about even talking to people outside. And then when you keep having things go on that aren't above board, then people get disgruntled with AUB and they leave, and they take their families go, and they go, and so
somebody says I once heard education is minimal. Would that be accurate? Yes. My senior year of high school, I spent pregnant and ready to have a baby, and so I didn't graduate high school. A lot of people don't graduate high school in this religion. My mom had 11 children, and it was what number is she? The 9th child who graduated high school first. So blessed. Thank you, so blessed. That was so nice. Do you know the Browns? Yes, I grew up with Christine and Mary, and then met Cody. The first time he ever came into an AUB function, I met him that night. And then Cory grew up down the street from Robin.
Yeah, so I knew Robin's family growing up, and the family that I knew both of their families.
Library girl stayed up after midnight to watch her live. Hi from Sweden. Thank you so much. You guys are so nice. Thank you. What does polygamy like after the kids grow up, like day to day? Honestly, that's what I was telling Corey. Like, I would be so sad because right now, like, my dad has a little mini compound, like where all of his wives are, and they all just like, they're just there. And half the time you're spending a good portion of your life alone. And so you're dependent on your children to hang out with you or your friends, because most of them don't have a lot of money, so they can't afford a vacation. They can't afford to go do anything. So you're stuck in your property, on your house or whatever it is. And it's sad. It's really sad. Somebody says no part of organized crime, just playing. Oh gosh, I don't know what that. Maybe I missed one. And so we're almost empty nesters. Our baby is 17. And I was telling Corey, I'm like, I would be so sad if we didn't have each other, because we're about to hit the best part of our lives right now. I mean, we love being grandparents. It's been so great. But we're about to hit some of the best. I have never in my life not had children responsibilities. I'm the oldest of my mother's 11. And then we got married, and then I got married and started having babies immediately, one at 17, one at 19. And so I've never had a time in my life where I haven't had to take care of. Norway, we have somebody on here from Norway. Thank you so much. Let's see. Did you say something about the show My 5 Wives? I used to watch that and felt favoritism going on. Carla says that. Yeah, so I grew up with them all. Corey grew up with a couple of the wives that were from Montana, and I grew up, a couple of those wives were my very best friends growing up. And
I think only one wife was from Montana.
Was it just Noni?
Noni, yeah.
And the rest of them were from down here?
Yeah.
I'm glad you two found each other. You seem very well matched. Thank you. I think we are too. Yeah. We actually became good friends before we decided to get together, because I was still married at the time, and then got divorced and went and begged him to date me.
Things you
Thank you so much, Licorice.
Your time as a lad. No.
When you were a little kid, is nothing you miss about your childhood? Or it's hard to find those really positive moments, because so much more of it was abusive than it was.
Yeah, because the good things that came from it, all my brothers and sisters, I still have those relationships.
Right.
I hang out with them.
Right.
So I still have the good parts of it, and I'm no longer a part of the negative parts of it. So
that's why watching Big Love the other day really kind of threw me into a little bit of PTSD, because I'm watching some of the dynamics go on, and I'm like, oh, that was so hard. That was so hard. And I think mostly too, I was the oldest, and so I saw a lot more of what happened amongst the adults, and so it was really hard. What do you think? Who was the favorite? I used to watch it too. Oh, who do you think was a favorite? I used to watch it too. Wish they hadn't been canceled. I actually don't think they got canceled. I think they chose not to renew. And honestly, I didn't know Brady hardly at all. He's done a couple interviews recently, and my whole perspective of him has shifted. He seems like a really good guy. Like, he really loves his wives. How many wives do you guys have? None. We have never lived plural marriage.
One.
Yeah.
I have one wife.
Yeah. So we've never lived plural marriage. We just were born and raised into it. Are members able to seek routine and accurate health care? Yeah. Thank you, Fitness Girl. Thank you for sharing your story. So yeah, here they took a lot of tithing money and opened up a medical clinic, and a lot of the members were seen in that medical clinic. And so what's the AUB's opinion on Cody now? I don't think they really care. They just don't want him around. They tell him to just get lost. You know, they don't really want him around, I don't think. Yes, doctors are a part of the group. Yep, we have several, well, I say we. Yeah. Let me scratch that. I have not been in the AUB for 25 years. But there's a lot of, they have several doctors in there. Are you still polygamist? No, we've never been polygamist. We just have each other. And
first 18 years of my life, I guess I would be considered a plague kid. I grew up in a huge family, and then I got out. So
hey, why does Utah overlook polygamy? It's illegal, right? So they made it. It's not legal here in Utah anymore, but they made it so that it's not illegal. So they're never going to prosecute it. There's been too many things go south with that.
For 150 years they've been living it, even though it's been illegal, but it's been pushed underground. which allows quite a bit of leadership to take advantage of people. And so I think they're overlooking it now and probably trying to help out, because if it,
thank you, decriminalized it. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. So it's no longer illegal, but it's no longer criminal either.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Cody Brown? I feel sad for the man. His family got destroyed and he's the only one to blame. So not really favorite, but felt bad for anyone who felt second to Polly. Yeah, Polly, yeah, I think I understand. Not really favorite, but felt bad for anyone who felt, Polly's a sweetheart. Polly was one of my very best friends growing up.
Still illegal. Yeah, you can't go get multiple marriage licenses.
Yeah, you can't go get multiple marriage licenses at all. Yes, they wouldn't have enough room in the jails if they prosecuted it. It's so true, because there are so many. I mean, Utah alone, there's probably 30 or 40,000.
Which they should. Now I think they're going after if there's child abuse, if there is the underage marriages, that's what they're going to go criminally after, and not going after just people getting married multiple to of age and of consent. So it's the underage marriages they're going to go after, the child abuse that they're going to go after, the
SA that they're going to go after. And I know a couple, I know that got you for a second, huh? You're like, wait, what? But I know like several years back, there was a lot of that happening in the AUB, and they started to turn it over to authorities, and getting the authorities involved, because
they need to.
Yeah, they were trying to handle it internally and it was just not getting handled. Nobody was dealing with it. And the abuse kept getting worse and worse and worse. Finally, one day I said to my dad, do you guys even pray about who you put in your leadership, or do you just put a bunch of abusers in there? Are more leaving than staying? Yeah, there you go. There's my 2 cents on that one. I have a very big opinion about SA and this religion. I wish they would bring back the show. Yeah, it was a good show. New on here, what are we talking about? We are talking about all things polygamy. We were born and raised in a polygamist cult. Yeah. Okay, I really enjoyed watching it. The show coming back would be awesome. Most kids' favorite question is why? How do AUB explain the necessity of polygamy to the younger members? It's the only way that you can meet God or become God.
Yeah, make it to the highest degree of heaven is the dogma that they pound into your head as a child.
Yep.
And that's the only way you're going to get into heaven, is if you.
And you can't just have 2 wives. You've got to have a minimum of 3 wives.
3 wives to get into heaven.
Yep. And so yeah, you'll see a lot of people like the Browns where they just get to 3 and then they stop for a long time. Let's see. Hope the priesthood takes care of their families. Yeah. Shaking my head. And that's the sad part, because then when you're a family like Cory's that is looked down upon a lot more, then it's like these women are just left on their own, and it's disgusting. Every show I think of can't possibly dislike Cody more, but I do every single time. I feel the same way. Every episode I watch, I'm just like, what are you happening? 8 Days into 17, Surviving the AUB would be a good book title. Probably, huh? I wasn't forced to get married, but I didn't exactly feel like I had the choice either. Yeah. My dad didn't pack me into the church to get married, but I didn't feel like I had a lot of choice. Good evening from Missouri. There's a lot of polygamists coming to Missouri.
Hello, Missouri.
Yeah, I'm in Montana. I'm in Missoula. Oh, so yeah, Cory's right out there.
My family.
Yeah. Oh. Cody makes my skin crawl. I've heard that one a lot. How explicit is the racism? Do they talk about the blacks, Native American skin color was a curse? My ex-husband was Hispanic, so my dad is very, very, very much in love with the Hispanic people. And since he's become the prophet, he's probably done a dozen, maybe 24 trips to Mexico. They have a temple down there. So my older 3 children are Hispanic. And there's not, I would say every single religion has a level of racism for sure, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, they definitely taught that in the AUB that the blacks couldn't have the priesthood. I don't know about the Native Americans.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about Native American.
Yeah, I don't know about them at all.
My understanding is that falls right into the same line as the Hispanics.
Yeah, that we had.
But no, my dad is very much. It's funny, when I was engaged to my ex-husband, one of my friends came up to me and said, "Can you marry him?" And I said, "Why? Why can't I marry him?" And they're like, "Well, because he's Hispanic." And the thought had never crossed my mind. My mom was very much. She did not raise her children to be racist in any way, shape, or form. We literally have Japanese, Lebanese, Tongan. My kids are Hispanic. Italian. Out of the 11 children that my mom has, we have almost every ethnicity of grandchildren and spouses. So we just didn't have that as a part of it. So once, when my friend said that to me, that was the first time it had ever crossed my mind. And I don't know. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to go ask my dad. When I went to my dad and asked him, his eyes welled up with tears. He's like, "Yes, sweetheart, you can absolutely marry him. We love the Lamanite people," as he calls them. And so there's not, I think it just depends.
Dogma.
Yeah, a lot of dogma. Let's see, what does AUB stand for? Apostolic United Brethren. Do you think Cody was a good head of the household? I think he's a very typical polygamist man. So, yeah.
No, he didn't run the household. It was
Christine and
Janelle that were the hub of that family, that if kids needed something, stuff like that. I think he was the, I don't know.
And you see that now.
Or
the
king of his castle was never around. So
right. And you see that now because all the kids want to be around Christine and Janelle. Is it true that Mary got a release from Cody? Yes, she did. Apostolic United. Okay, what an absolute delusion to believe that any one person is somehow that powerful. I just don't get it. Yeah. Thank God you don't get it too, because then that shows that you were not raised in a cult. But when this is what you have been taught your entire life, it's really hard to deconstruct.
I learned very quickly that I was not going to follow any of these so-called prophets that that were so hypocritical all the time.
Right. So it says, "Are you Christine's cousin?" Only through marriage. We're very, very connected through marriage.
I'm not related.
Yeah.
We were kind of the family that came in, that we weren't related to anybody.
Yeah. So Corey's mom and dad both married into the polygamist group. My mom and dad married into it, or converted in, and then my ex-husband's parents converted in. So I have no blood relation to anybody other than through other mothers.
None of my dad's wives were, they all came.
They all converted in.
They all converted in.
That's right, they did, huh?
He does not have one wife, or didn't have one that were a part of the AUB before they married him. So we weren't married to any royalty within the.
I didn't even think about that. So. Yeah, my dad has a couple of wives that would be considered, I guess, if you want to say, royally.
Mm-hmm. They've been in for generations, so.
Yeah. Let's see. Is Warren Jeff still running things? I don't know anything about the FLDS, honestly.
Don't have a clue.
I wonder how Cody's church felt about his actions. They've been disgusted by it. I don't talk to my dad very much anymore, as of a couple months ago, but before that they were not happy. I think they should leave it alone as long as folks aren't underage and only legal marriages.
Yeah.
Most every other church is pretty much left. Did Corey graduate high school?
So I did graduate from a polygamist-based school. But then when I got the graduation, I'd got the diploma, and then my first job was like, you need to get a GED also. So not only did I graduate from the polygamist equivalent of high school, but then I went and got a general education.
Yeah. And what age were you when you did that?
18.
18?
Yeah, I graduated from their, I don't know. I graduated from their course at probably around 17 and a half, because and I was teaching some of the kids math because I knew more than
Cory's ridiculously intelligent.
than the
He's just really quiet.
teachers. So
Yeah. Well, and
I studied a lot. So growing up, so
yeah, he's still a bookworm. Our kids are extremely intelligent. And then I didn't graduate. There was no point in it because I was never going to have to go out into the real world and work because I was a stay-home mom. And so it wasn't until I was 25 that I went back and got my high school diploma.
yeah, do you see families leaving the polygamists and trying to continue? Yeah, they've made an agreement. There are some families that have made agreements to still stay together and just not follow the prophets and stuff, and they go out on their own. There are some wives that go, no, I'm going to stick with the AUB, and so then those wives are usually released, and whatever's left of the family leaves and goes.
Yeah, so if the husband decides he doesn't trust the leadership anymore or doesn't want to be part of the leadership anymore, and then he questions that,
doesn't support them,
then he'll be what's called disfellowshipped, and his wives will be instructed not to have a physical relationship with him until he gets his mind right. And then as soon as if he ever decides to come back to the priesthood, then typically there's a process for it, and a lot of times they'll have to be rebaptized or something to that effect. And then they can continue having intimate or physical relationships with each other. But up until then, the wives are instructed not to have anything to do with them. And then if they leave for good, then the wives are given the option to stay if they want to stay with him. But then they're excommunicated too, and the sin is just as bad for them. If they decide to stay, then typically they'll be married amongst the other men.
And when I was a teenager, they were talking about, because some of our friends that weren't part of the AUB were coming to get-togethers, dances, so they were talking about putting in some sort of recommend for you to be able to come on priesthood property and do that. But that, as far as I knew, it wasn't implemented. And then when I left, it wasn't till years later, when I went down to one of the priesthood properties and they asked for my recommend, and I'm like, I pulled out the invite to get in. I'm like, this? And they're like, no, you have to have a recommend to get on priesthood property. And I'm like,
oh, is this when you went to the graduation?
Yeah. I'm like, I've been on priesthood property.
Yeah, he was like, no.
All the time. But
do you know who my father-in-law is?
Yeah.
That's my priesthood
throwing
recommend.
around my clout. So
yeah. And so, they do require it now. Did you know Mary's brother did that married Janelle? Yes, I did. I grew up with him. Any clues to why that marriage didn't last? I have no idea. He was a good man, though. I really liked him. Is Cody as obnoxious as he seems on the show? Does he try to be the center of attention? Yes.
I'm assuming so.
Yeah, it's really hard for me to see Cody disconnect from his kids.
Yeah, that's the worst part of
the whole show for us.
The whole show for us.
Yeah.
Because
we really struggle with that part of it.
You could see that. I mean, there's stuff that we as the viewers can see that those kids loved each other. They loved the family. They hung out. You could see them. I mean, I've watched some of the episodes where one of the family members come back in and they're all giving each other hugs and loving on each other. And so then when the narrative changes to we were the outside family, well, that's a victim story that you're making up because all of the evidence is there for whatever it is, 15 seasons showing that they liked each other. Those kids were good.
I think that's the hardest part. We both talk about that a lot. The parents went into these decisions as adults that made this decision to go public. You know, in any polygamous situation, these adults are the ones who make these decisions. The kids tend to be the collateral damage, and it's really hard to watch. These adults are the ones who make these decisions. The kids tend to be the collateral damage, and it's really hard to watch. We'll introduce ourselves again because we are we've got a couple hundred people that have joined since we started. So We were both born and raised in the AUB. We are not polygamists. We never have been polygamists. My ex-husband dated for a while, never got a second wife. And then my dad's the current prophet. So we are just talking about our experiences. Did Robin grow up in polygamy? Yes, she did.
Yeah, so she might have come in, her parents at the time came into the AUB when she was probably younger. They lived a little down south from us, and then her mother got a release from Robin's biological dad, and then
Thanks, Caroline.
oh,
That's
thanks.
awesome.
And then she remarried the new father, which is a good guy too. So really liked him.
Cory loves her stepdad.
Loved that guy. So and then they moved out when probably they moved south down to Utah.
Yeah, they moved to southern Utah somewhere when Robin was a teenager or something.
Yeah, she was a teenager. I was probably 17 when they moved.
Yeah.
Because I was friends with a brother, an older brother, and he was up there.
Yeah.
We hung out a lot. So.
Yeah. Is there ever any cheating going on? It does happen. It has happened a lot, actually.
Cheating.
Define cheating when your husband is sleeping with 3 other women.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, that does.
Says, do you see fatal depression unaliving by young adults, often by those who grew up in polygamy? Yes, that does happen. I personally had a couple of experiences like that because I felt like it was the only way for me to get out of that previous marriage. And I would rather burn in hell for all eternity than stay in the relationship that I was in.
Yeah. You are given so much dogma of what you have to do, the path that you have to follow to make it to the highest degree. And if you mess up in any way, it's devastating. Now you're damned to hell.
Yeah.
And so
and
minds will get there quicker. So there is definitely, they build it up so high that this is the only way you're going to do it. And then when you trip and fall, or when you fail, or you make mistakes,
then you think there's no hope for you anyways.
There's no hope for you.
Yeah. So. Somebody says, I can't watch an episode without getting a little heated and loud. And it's triggering. Yeah. I can't watch it and not say the F word. I get Tourette's syndrome pretty severely as I'm watching it. Sorry, we're going to try to skip through some of these. Is your ex-husband still AUB? No. He became a full-on drug addict and has been in and out of jail ever since.
Opposition to McKelty's marriage to Tony.
I assumed racism shaped the Browns' opposition to McKelty's marriage to Tony. He's Hispanic. No, not necessarily.
I don't know if it.
Yeah, my ex-husband, like I said, is Hispanic. My older 3 children are Hispanic.
Yeah.
So I always wished I was Hispanic. Been really sad that I feel like I got ripped off. I should have been born Hispanic. They're cast out. The inclusion of other races is a positive thing. Yeah. Why are the Pligs going to Missouri? They're going back. You can explain that one better than I can.
Back to build up the kingdom of God and the temple, and to it's one of the signs of the end times. So they're going back to build it up for the second coming of Christ. So
do you know sweet Esther, who left the AUB and became, I think I know what Esther you're talking about, and I absolutely adore her. And it's her birthday today or yesterday. Shoot, my days are blending. Does AUB frown upon mental health services? Yeah, they did for a long time. There was a rash of people who started, because people will start to get healthy and then they realize they don't need to live in oppression.
But, I don't know what their main teachings are, but I know both my dad, I have a brother, all in the military. My dad's first wife, they all had they would go to the VA and they had therapists to help them get through the post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But theirs were paid for by the VA. So if
Yeah,
they didn't
they-
have that,
And so I don't know, nobody said, hey,
yeah.
Vietnam veteran, don't go and meet with your therapist.
Yeah.
So
It was discouraged. There was a bunch of therapy that went around for a while,
Yeah.
and it was highly discouraged. It was a group session, and a former AUB member brought it into the Utah area.
Do I know the
Yeah.
Barber
Do you know the
family?
Barber family? You didn't, did you? I did. I knew him. I knew the father and all three of the wives and all of the children. Some of my very best friends are part of the Barber family. Pregnancy before married, what happens? So there was one time I was sitting in church and some girl got up there and I had no idea she was pregnant. And she got up there and she just gave like this fire and brimstone. You will not treat my child badly because I made a mistake. And she was getting up there and just really going off on people about they will treat her child with respect. And find out later that she was pregnant and she was not gonna. Yeah, so that was really stunning to me. A lot of times, you know, it's funny. It depends on how you want to handle your situation. There is one girl that I know of, and she got pregnant before marriage and had the baby, and then ended up becoming a second wife to someone else. And so, really, I think it just kind of depends.
It depends on who you are. A lot of times we would go to church because they would spill the tea. There would be people arguing or lashing out up over the pulpit. And it
Yeah.
was fun to watch. It was like, ooh, what did we miss? What's
gosh.
going on?
Oh my gosh. Why can't women have multiple husbands? Because men cannot make babies.
They can.
Thank you, Tiffany.
They can. They just marry one, get a release, marry another one. But they've got to marry up in the chain.
Oh gosh. That's so funny. Do you know anything about
They just can't have them all at the same time.
do you know anything about Robin's ex-husband? Just that he is in full remission and doing really well. They sent around like a big phone tree message, and he's in full remission apparently and doing really well. Do you practice any religion now? Or are you mainstream LDS? No. We are not. What if you're born gay? What happens? Well, we know quite a few people in that circumstance, and it's hard. It's hard. They're shamed and guilted. I mean, you have more experience
That's
that
where
because
that's probably where you see
the unaliving.
more of that.
Yeah.
Because it is ultimate shame. It is ultimate, and
Yeah. It's
and-
heartbreaking.
yeah, and so it's absolutely.
Yeah.
We were raised to that you don't ever do that. So when I had some friends
Yeah.
that came out, and they were awesome. Nothing changed.
Yeah.
They were such good human beings that then I had so many doubts about the dogma we grew up in. So,
Yeah. And really,
they are pushed out. They are pushed out. They are excommunicated. They are asked not to come back up to priesthood property. All the same stuff.
and we know quite a few.
Yeah.
Quite a few, especially in plural marriage, and they, like one man in particular, just went on to get several wives and just
Yep.
pretended it wasn't there, which is tragic for that man. Corey's little sister says, the Brown kids really remind me of our siblings growing up, so that I know that they loved each other.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that attracted me to Corey so much, was that his siblings were so much like my siblings, and you can't tell who belongs to what mother, because everyone just loves each other and everyone just gets along so well. It says, you two mentioned 3 wives to be with God and or with God. What about the wives? You have to have 3 wives to, at least minimum of 3 wives to get to the celestial kingdom. But then you need a minimum of 5 wives to be like on the leadership, and then 7 wives to be the prophet.
President of the church.
Yeah, the president of the church.
PSR, prophet, seer, and revelator.
Oh my gosh, Corey's coined his own phrase called PSR. And he's like, when my dad became the prophet, he's like, Mel, you're so lucky. You have your own personal PSR. I'm like, I don't think my dad looks like that for me that way. But
A new PSR.
I can tell you're both good people. Thank you, Dabney. We try to be. We really do. definitely have had our moments where I'm sure there are some out there who would think that we weren't, but I appreciate that you say that. Since you both had left the AUB, how did you meet? So my best friend was married to his brother, and he actually, I know we're going to do a 3 or 4 part podcast on our like relationship story. And so she brought him on a boating trip with my ex-husband and I, and so I got to know Cory, and he was so amazing, and I just thought he was so funny, and I just loved his character. And because I wasn't a threat, because I wasn't a single woman, I had children and was married, I wasn't a threat. He just was casually who he is, and he didn't have to hide any of that, so I could see the nature of his character.
Good friends, and it was like, woo, we get a once a year go down, chill out at Lake Powell, and so
yeah, they would come to Lake Powell on our houseboat with us,
and we'd go down there and just hang out, play with the kids, have a good time.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, you're a nice guy. And I'm like, oh, thanks. And so,
yeah. So I just thought his character was so amazing. And so I wanted him to like marry one of my sisters or something, because I thought I would be married forever to this man. And then when I was single, then I asked him out, because I knew the character of the man he was, and I wanted that for my children. Let's see. Let's get to more. Yeah, it's kind of, I'm trying to scroll because I feel like what happens is I touch the screen and then it like scrolls. Talk about Robin's archetype in the faith, similar fallout in other families. Yeah, we both take a deep breath. Because we lived that, and it's hard. It's hard as a child to live that. It's hard to watch your father favor another woman and her children over you and your family. And that is really hard. My mom was never the favorite. And it was really hard to live through that. There was always a wife that had the favorite, and if she said something went, that's how it went. And so, and normally they're very sneaky about the way that they do it.
Sweet and humble, righteous, whatever your word you want to use. So
yeah, and they'll go up to him. Don't you think it's a good idea that we make happen? And then you're the child who gets to live with that aftermath.
Well, and then. Yeah, so, and they're trained up. I mean, you're trained up as a kid, and you see these big families, and you see the discrepancy in it. And so a lot of my parenting is going, I didn't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that, I'm not going to behave that way. What is it as a little kid that I did like? And that was when a parent would come and sit me down and talk to me and tell me what I'd done wrong, and so I could see. And so I changed. I'm like, that's how I want to parent myself. And so I've deleted a lot of the negative part of growing up. There's so many discrepancies. You're growing up in a house with 10 parents that all parent differently. And so, and
one woman thinks that everything should be the same. And you know, one of my other mothers, the one that was the favorite, her kids were the favorite. My mom had gone out of town one time, and I was 16, and I was watching the siblings, and my little 3-year-old little sister was playing on the floor along with her son, and they were playing together. Well, they had done something bad, and she went over there and literally beat my little sister to where she had welts all over her legs, and she was only 3. And I lost my mind on her, and I went in there and I started yelling at her, which I never did that kind of stuff. I was very obedient. And I went in there and I started yelling at her, and I was like, why did you just beat my little sister, but you didn't beat your son? And she said, oh, because your mom believes in spanking. I don't believe in spanking, so I'm not going to spank my son. And then I called her the B word. And oh my gosh, I literally thought my dad was going to, I thought I was dead. I thought he was absolutely going to kill me.
You can tell that Melanie was from the world or down here in the thing, because I didn't know what the B word was when I was growing up.
Yeah, it was real. It's really hard to have a wife like Robin. It's really hard to have that interaction there. It's not a fun way to grow up. And so I can see why some of the kids have animosity and anger. It's been very interesting. Looking forward to the show. Thank you for sharing this thank you so much. How long have you guys all been married? We got married back in 2001. So Independence, Missouri is where the polygamists split off from the progressives. Yes. So why did you choose not to follow in the AUB? Mostly just because I was married and we tried to court a couple of times and I just decided I didn't want it. It was too hard of a lifetime. And honestly, the previous prophet was staring at my 2-year-old and very inappropriately. And I looked at her and I just decided I couldn't have that life for her. So I decided to pack up and leave.
I studied a lot in my teenage years, and there was so much hypocrisy. And I would talk to my dad, and there was just so much hypocrisy within the AUB. Within all of them, that they claim they believe one way. These are our standards. This is what we believe. And then, on the other hand, new higher laws are contradictory to that. And so, my brother and I did a trip. We went through a Mormon temple before it was consecrated when we were teenagers. Came out of that temple, and there were a bunch of people handing out
propaganda,
what
flyers.
They called anti-Mormon propaganda. But it was, and like I said, I read a lot, and so I took one of the books and read through it and started asking questions of my dad and started researching more, and eventually I kind of came to my own conclusions. And then I just asked too many questions, I think.
Yeah.
So,
you didn't. You asked the right amount.
Amount of questions.
We don't know if Robin's kids see them. Honestly, we don't know that much about that. Let's see. Let me get some more questions here. Do you support LGBTQ? Or let's see. Sorry, that went right. Yes, we do. It's your body, your choice. You make your own decisions, and I will love people no matter what they do.
Yep.
You're brave. What?
In fact, I have a good friend that's been with his partner a lot longer than 90% of everybody else we grew up with in the AUB. So doing something right where everybody else isn't. So.
Yeah, you're brave. I still hesitate to say very much about the Missouri group after I left. We have vulnerability hangovers ever so often, especially because, the whole point was to go out there and tell our story. And, we were never going to talk about the sister wives. That was never, we just decided to do a live after the shows so that we can talk about some of the things that we see behind the scenes. Yeah. But it wasn't something that we had necessarily on our radar to talk about. We were just talking about our own experiences. It's scary sometimes, I won't lie. Have 3 wives. I can barely handle the one I have. Yeah. Well, most of these men don't handle 3 wives very well, as you can see. Do you believe Mary is as bad as they say or portray her on TV? No, the problem, so I know Mary and I love Mary. And the thing is that when you're a woman raised in this religion, and I just had this experience last night, we went to an event that had a bunch of AUB women there, a ton. Basically, the whole concept is you don't want to stand out. You don't want to have a strong opinion. You don't want to say what you need or what you feel. You just need to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And you just
humble and sweet.
Yeah, humble and sweet. And there's this walk that they do that they're humble and they're hunched over and it's the way that they keep sweet with each other. And if you are a woman, this is why I would not have been a very good polygamous wife, because if you are a woman with an opinion, then you are labeled as bad. Because you're always walking on eggshells all the time. And so if you come in there with a strong opinion that conflicts with another wife's opinion, then you're being aggressive. Then you're being confrontational. Then you're being, and so you're labeled all of these things that it's just not true because you voiced your opinion about one or two things, and maybe you wanted it to be done a certain way and it wasn't getting done that way. So do I think Mary is as bad? No, absolutely not. I think that she's very strong in what she wants and what she believes, and good for her for that. So your dad has 7 wives. My dad has had 8, I probably should count that, 8 wives total, and 1 divorced him and 2 of them have died. So right now, I think he has 5 active wives, and then my mom left him, so 6 now. You two are very nice people. Thank you for sharing your lives with us. Thank you, Tiffany. Appreciate that.
My dad had 9 wives at one time, and yeah, quite a few of them were left him or had a release. Some of them died, and had 2 of them that stayed with him when he passed.
Says, are any of your siblings still practicing the religion? I have 4, maybe 5 or 6 siblings that I have 4 that are actively have plural marriages, and then some that they're still in the group. They're just are in the church. They're just not plural yet, but eventually they will be, I'm sure.
Hey, my sister's on here. How many do we have?
You guys have 1.
1. Yeah, I've got 1 brother that has multiple wives, and then I've got another brother that still lives up there, but he's single.
Yeah.
He had a wife, they got divorced, and he's never remarried. So
yeah. So as a prophet, does your dad think he speaks with God? How does he say his relationship with God has changed? Okay, this is funny. I don't want to sound flippant about it or lied about it, but after he did become the prophet, I did ask him what God sounded like. I said, hey, yo, Dad.
But yes, they do believe that the prophet, seer, and revelator communicates and gets.
Yeah.
That is the belief system.
Yes. Somebody says, would you consider being on Mormon Stories podcast? Absolutely. Yeah, if they asked me, I would absolutely go. I love that guy. Oh, I love Lake Pal. Yeah. Are you guys poly or just talking about it? We are both born and raised in it. We are not polygamists ourselves. Lake Pal is amazing. Highly recommend if you haven't been. Best beach. We loved Lake Pal. And honestly, I love that is where that's where we love, because what's funny is Cory dated my ex-husband's little sister. Longest story. This is Polygamy 101. And so I had seen him but never paid attention to him. Oh, thank you so much, Hannah. That's Hannah gave us our first gift. Thank you, Hannah.
No, there's been bunches of gifts.
Oh, it said right there, first gift.
It was her first gift.
Oh, her first gift. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I know, I was going to say, I thought there was more.
Was your husband ever married? I'm assuming you're talking about me, and before her, no.
Nope.
I was resistant.
A single bachelor at 29 years old, just waiting for me to swoop him up.
I was resistant.
Karen, thank you. Jodalyn, thank you so much.
I was immune to marriage, so I'd seen it growing up. I was so leery of getting married, but I did ask 2 girls, and they both said no. So
yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, I was going to be a happy bachelor the rest of my life until she came along.
Yeah, and then I said, don't you think this is a good idea? And he went, oh, shoot. Our first date was very funny. And he panicked because apparently, I'm going to pull a Robin here for a minute. I was too far out of his league. And so he had a panic attack and literally just walked away and went and washed his car and then came back.
She was in a safe box. She was married. She was all of that stuff, and we're just good friends, and they'd invited us over. And
he's like, don't ruin my Lake Pal trip by asking me out.
I know. I was like, this is going to ruin a yearly Lake Pal trip.
I know.
And she's like, nope, I'm single and we should date. And I just went,
thank you, so blessed. That's so
thank
nice.
you. So.
Yeah. Do you both have children with other people and together? I had 3 children when we got married. I had been married previously. Cory hadn't. Thank you, Wrong and Serenity.
I have the 2 children with her.
We have 2 together.
And I claim the 3 older ones. They are amazing
and
human
they claim
beings.
him.
And so, yes, I have 5 kids, but 3 of them I got when I married her. So
yeah, I call it the Utah special. They talk in full circles and don't ever say what they mean. Oh gosh, if you feel like we're doing that, tell us, because we want things to be clear.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to tell any inside jokes. So
I said, don't tell inside jokes. People don't understand them.
If
Only
you don't
people understand them.
Ask me and I'll explain the roots behind it. So.
Do they train the boys on how to treat the wives? No, they don't really. They treat the wives the girls how to be good wives. But I don't know that there's any training for the boys, but I mean, that's your department.
Well, my mother read us etiquette books. So part of our training growing up was how to be the gentleman, to stand up when a woman enters a room, things like that. We did a whole thing on etiquette.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, Mom believed that she was going to have little princesses. Or prince and princesses. Princes and princesses, and so we were going to have to learn. So I learned how to set a table and open doors and take your hat off. And
he's very chivalrous.
And be a gentleman growing up.
And he very much is.
Not everybody does.
It's not a training in the
church. It's not a training that they do.
His mom was very good at that, and she still is. She's very sweet. Was it scandalous that Janelle married Cody after Mary? I heard little whisperings about it. That was the first time I ever saw him. Janelle was when she came to church as Cody's wife, and that's all I've ever heard about it. I don't remember hearing much about it. Is Cody a good guy? I have not seen Cody or talked to Cody in 20 years. So the only thing we're seeing is what
good guy. Probably in Robin's eyes, yes. Probably in some of his kids' eyes, yes. Good father, good husband.
Yeah.
Maybe to one wife, he's a good husband.
Based on editing on a TV show, I would say no. Yeah. But that's just based on editing. I don't know.
To be completely truthful, I met him once or twice when I was a teenager. He was one of the older teenagers. He's a little older than me. And so we were never friends. I was too uncool to hang out with that group. So
right.
No, I don't think he would have even known who I was. So
yeah. And I mean, he was a great guy as a teenager. He came to a couple parties at my house, and we were good friends.
Yeah, she was the cool group. I didn't hang out with that group. So
I don't think so.
I didn't. To be honest, I didn't know Cody. I didn't talk to him that much. I did maybe a hi here, stuff like that.
Yeah.
He was, He had all the ladies after him.
He did. When he first came into the group, he did.
So it was a different group that I hung out with.
Yeah.
We were the nerds.
Well, and Cory was in Montana, and we were down here in Salt Lake. So there's a big difference there. In the AUB, is the AUB as bad as the FLDS or the Kingston group? I feel like the Browns painted themselves so differently. Honestly, I always grew up thinking, the way I grew up is not as bad it's not as messed up as that group. But then as I've done these podcasts and started speaking out loud and telling my story, it is just as bad. I just convinced myself that it wasn't. Mm-hmm. Are there the same amount of underage marriages? I don't know. But the Kingstons intermarry family members. There is some of that happens in the AUB. I don't know.
And you're like, no, the AUB.
No, the AUB is supposed to be the good guys.
We don't cast people out and take their wives. Mm-hmm. Yes, we do.
Yes, they do.
We don't marry somebody who, yes, we do.
Yeah.
It depends on the situation.
Yep.
Those guys probably just did it so much more rampant, but they do the very similar thing.
There's as much physical abuse that happens in the AUB. I was physically abused on the regular by my father. So was your dad open and supportive to your questioning about him speaking to God and what does God sound like? He didn't think I was very funny, that's for sure. I thought I was being hilarious.
Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, I was being...
That's what he sounds like.
Oh, he sounds like Morgan. Yeah, he says...
I'm just kidding.
He says God sounds like Morgan Freeman.
Morgan, yeah.
Let's see. We're going to badger you about the sister wives. Ask the questions. Yep. We'll answer them if we can. We just really don't know them that personally anymore. Mary's the only one that I ever really talked to anymore. This is how the foothold of passive aggressive occurs. I think you're responding to something else. Actually, I feel for the most of the women and feel that they are in hard spot growing up with those beliefs. They are. Honestly, I did not feel like I had any other choice. I felt like I was just, you're stuck in a situation.
If we chose something different to go out, we were choosing hell and damnation. And to be honest, I was like, I can either live hell and damnation, or I can just live a peaceful life and do the hell and damnation afterwards. So.
Yeah. And Mary is portrayed as having been mean to the other wives early on. I haven't read their book, but I've heard that, and maybe she was. I don't know that. Where are you guys located? We're in Utah. 9. Oh wow. Yep. He's got 9 other moms. Now, most of them have all passed. There's only 3 that are still alive, right?
Yeah. Well, the 3 that live up there on there. One of them got a release from my dad, but their family, they still live up there.
Yeah. Is it common that Cody married a divorced woman with kids? Yes. So my dad has 7 wives. 4 of those wives were previously married with children when he married them. They weren't young. Well, the one wife, she was very young. She actually had a little girl the same age as me. We were born on the same day, and we were 5 when he married her. And we were 5 years old, and she was 4 hours older than me, so we were twins, and we loved that growing up. And then so out of my dad's 7 wives, 4 of them had previously been married. So yes, it is very common. How do they pay for everything? They don't. A lot of the times the children have to go to work, or the wives have to work.
Yeah, and we worked.
Yeah.
We had a farm, raised chickens. I mean, we lived that off the grid lifestyle. We raised a lot of our own food. So.
Miss Lady, thank you so much for joining us. I'm glad you found us too. She says, glad I found you guys. Became the 19th member on the team. Thank you. Okay, I don't know what the teams are yet. I'm sorry, I'm still learning that. But thank you so much. The origin story just keeps getting better. Oh, it's a great one. It really is. We have a great love story, I believe. What? What?
How many siblings do you have?
Oh yeah, we answered that one. How many siblings do we have? I've gone to Utah twice. Utah's absolutely beautiful.
I don't think we've answered that on this episode.
How many siblings we have?
Yeah.
My dad had 34 kids that I grew up with, so 33, and then his had 27 biological, and then
26 or 27, and then 39 kids, and 10 adults, 9 women, 9 wives, and 1 husband, all living on the same piece of property in 2 different houses.
Yeah. Somebody says, are you guys married? Yes. Yep. We've been married since 2001. Truly enjoy listening to your story. Thank you. How old are your children? Our oldest is 32 and our baby is about to be 17.
No, he's 17.
Or I'm sorry, he's 17.
Yeah,
he's
17.
Almost 18.
Yeah.
Where did that just come out of? I have no idea. We're almost empty nesters. So. Yeah.
I lived the first portion of my adulthood, my young adulthood, as a single guy.
Thank you,
so
Sarah.
I'm excited to get back to not being a parent. I'll still be a parent, love my kids, but I don't have to change their diapers now. It's their job to change my diapers.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah and Jody Lynn. You guys are so sweet. Thank you.
Guys.
Yeah, I've never had a break. I have always been raising children my entire life. And I'm actually looking forward to having a break too. Let's see, how can anyone possibly handle more than one wife? I don't think they do it and do it very well.
Yeah.
Are you still close with your siblings? We're both very close with our siblings. Yep.
One of them's on here watching me.
And we're both the oldest. And we actually built our home, and we built it big enough that we could have a lot of family gatherings here. And a good portion of all of our family gatherings on both sides of the family happen here at our house. I'm wondering about her dad's wives that were previously married. Holy bananas, that's a lot of kids.
What was that?
Oh, it's Katie saying hi. Our daughter just joined us to moderate some of the comments for us. And was she previously married but never practiced polygamy in her marriage? Yeah, Robin was, if that's who you're talking about, she was previously married. Do you two know if Robin truly grew up in a family like the Browns or living as two separate families? We don't know. I don't know that. Do you know that?
I don't think they lived in the same house together, if that's what you're asking. But, I mean,
yeah,
the first portion of the Brown family did. Robin's never lived, I believe, with other wives. She's always had her own space. And so, yeah, and I don't think she grew up that way either. I think her stepdad had both.
Yeah.
Two different families staying in two different places, but I could be wrong. I knew them up in Montana, and then by the time they moved down here, I was friends with, their son that I was friends with. We were adults at that time, as we hang out. But he's moved out, and I moved out, and so.
Yeah, and so I've always wanted to be best friends with Janelle and Christine. I'm so fascinated by the Browns. I know they are. And Christine, I grew up with Christine. I went to high school with Christine. And thank you, Whiskey. That's so sweet of you. And
I played volleyball.
Great.
Whooped them.
Yeah.
I was way good at.
Christine grew up kind of like on a mini compound too. And there was tons of volleyball games there.
Yep.
Oh no, do tell the inside jokes. I love the education. Oh gosh. Well, and that's what I told them. I'm like, you can tell jokes that we can explain quickly on a live, or we'll have to do a podcast.
Like the PSR.
Like the PSR.
I shortened it up just to make it sound cool.
Prophet, Seer, and Revelator.
Seer and Revelator is what they announce over the pulpit or talk about.
Yep.
The new prophet, Seer,
and Beck says, do members speak on Sundays like in the mainstream Mormon church? Yes, they do. Yep, they ask, but typically they don't give them a heads up. They just call in front. They just call on them, and at any given Sunday, you're going to have about 400 people there, and you just get randomly called on out of the audience, and you just get to go up there because they feel like that is more genuine and from your heart, as you're standing up there having a heart attack. Let's see. I really liked your insight on the entitled wife. Really helps me make sense out of it. Yeah, thank you. I did a TikTok on the entitlement of some women in the polygamist group, and yeah, that's true. Let's see. Answered that question. How many? You guys are great. Thank you for your honest conversation. Oh, thank you, Shelly, for watching. We appreciate it. These lives have actually been fun for us. We have actually really enjoyed doing them. Thank you, Sarah.
I'll tell you guys another inside joke, if you will.
Oh gosh.
My sister will probably.
Here it comes.
But I had been away from the AUB for quite a long time when my dad passed away. So I hadn't been inside their church building for, a long time. And so I forgot how they prayed and all of that stuff. So.
And he's asked to give the opening prayer.
They asked me to give the prayer at the funeral. And so the last time I'd been in there was them telling me never to come back and announcing my name over the pulpit.
And all of his sins over the pulpit, because that's
so
fun.
I'm nervous, to say the least, because there's all the community there to come and see my dad's funeral. And here they ask me to say prayer. And so I get up and forgot how to do it, so I sit in there and talk to people. Thanks for coming.
He forgot how to end the prayer.
And I forgot how they ended the prayer.
So he just didn't. He kept talking and kept talking and kept talking.
And then when it came to the end, I ended it like I end a phone call, and I'm like, all right, have a nice day, guys. And then I went down off the pulpit. And so now all of my
He sat down, I put my arm around him, and I'm like, or you could say, in the name of Jesus Christ, amen. And he's like, that's it right there. I forgot how to end the prayer.
There's their story. So now my sisters and brothers all make fun of me. So sometimes you'll see have a nice day on here. That's them saying amen to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So.
Somebody says, do you think Robin is sincerely upset that the other wives are gone? No.
I don't think she's upset. I think she wanted this big thing where she would be the head wife, the main wife that was in there, and she would just rather have some missive wives around, so it looked good. But no, I think she got exactly what she was creating.
What she was looking for.
Yeah.
So Charles says, well, considering how you were raised, it seems you're well-adjusted and very happy couple. Thank you, Charles. Yeah, we are. We are. Were you married inside the religion or outside of it? I was actually married once before in the religion, and then I left the religion, and then Cory and I were not. We were just married. We were married inside the LDS church. Cory was a member of the LDS church, and then after I got divorced, I joined the LDS church, and then we were married. We never went through their temple. And then about, I don't know how long into our marriage, maybe 3 years into our marriage, we decided to leave the Mormon church, and we just have not been religiously active.
It felt too familiar.
Well, I mean, you did baptize our oldest child together. So she was 8. So yeah, I mean, I guess it was longer than that. Thank you, William. Thank you. Yeah. Let's see. We answered that question. Are you still close with your siblings? Yes, we are both. I never cared for Robin from the beginning. My gut always told me she was no good. Yeah, sometimes you get those wives that just have an agenda. And is it normal that the most recent wife is the favorite like Robin? No, not necessarily. I think that it just depends on the situation. And, you know, sometimes a man will just marry a woman because she needs somebody to take care of her. Or she thinks she does. And she doesn't really.
Needs to get into heaven.
Yeah.
If that's her belief system. Someone
hit up in church and started their prayer with hello, similar to your have a nice day. That's awesome. I was laughing so hard because I actually opened my eyes and like looked around the room, and everyone's like, what is this guy doing? And it was one of the best moments. I mean, and it was funny, but here we are at his dad's funeral. Yeah. So it was like, you know what I mean? Still a level of respect for what's happening, but
not respect for my brothers and sisters. They were instantly mocking me.
Forever.
They could tell that I was a heathen. I'd been away too long.
Yeah.
Don't know how to end their...
Yeah.
To let everybody know that they can quit closing their eyes and look up again. I was just like, have a nice day. Boom.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
It was so funny. And then I actually turned around. I started looking at everybody, and people just start like nobody knew how, like, are we done? And then so they would open their eyes, and nobody really knew for sure. And then people just started sitting down. So yeah, it was
I just
great.
vanished from the stage. I was a magician. They all look up and I'm gone.
Okay, let's see. Do you have any isms that you say in your general speech? Is that vary your family? What are isms? Yeah, I don't know what isms are. Sorry. I've never listened to a podcast, but I'd like to try to figure it out if you do them. Yeah, we do. I have a podcast on YouTube called Notes to Self 444. So if you want to look that up. What made your mom want to convert to polygamy?
Well, she was raised in
his dad was really good looking.
She was raised in the Mormon church, and so she was given some of the basic. She knew the basics of that they used to live polygamy and stuff like that. And Rulon was a very charismatic man.
He was a leader of the AUB.
They came around, and so she just started getting taught again about polygamy, and she had met my dad at some meetings and stuff, and so she was like, yeah, I think I want to join, and do you have anybody in mind? And she's like, yeah, take that handsome rogue right over there. So
and he was very handsome and very charismatic.
Yeah.
Very charismatic.
Good sense of humor.
Yeah. So Callie says, love a big family, must be massive with both sides. Cleanup must hurt. It's a lot of work. It really is. We have had some big, huge get-togethers. I would say, how many people? Well, we've had a couple weddings at our house. Yeah. And, just siblings and stuff getting married in the backyard. I would say probably the most people we've had at our house at one time. 200 people, 250 maybe.
Yeah, got a pretty decent sized backyard.
Yeah, so. Yeah, it's insane. And so, and then when we just do just backyard barbecues, we can get 50. On average, we'll get about 50 people when we do just a regular barbecue. Let's see. Okay. You seem nice, both of you. Can you stop talking over him? It's hard to listen to. Sorry, I do talk over him a lot.
I need to speak up more too. She's giving me all that advice.
I'm trying to fill dead air because he doesn't talk as quick as I do.
Are any of your children religious?
Are any of our children religious? All of our children are very spiritually inclined. None of them actually go to...
They're not a part of any church.
Yeah. Yeah, but they're all actually very spiritually inclined. It's been awesome to watch.
What was it? Have a nice day.
That was your sister.
Yes.
Yeah. Have you visited other churches and learned more about other religions? Yeah. Yeah. I remember when I met my very first Jewish friend, and I thought it was such a big deal, and I was like 20. And I made way too big of a deal about that.
Visited, yeah, when I was younger.
You've gone to the Masonic temples and stuff like that?
Yeah, I went to the Masonic temple, asked questions there. Been to the Seventh-day Adventists, asked questions of them. But
yeah,
there's a Christian church we've got family part of. We'll go down there and hang out to support our family. But
yeah, because most of my family that has left polygamy has joined Christianity of some sort, and so they're all members of Christian churches. So we do go to a lot of things there.
Get-togethers and stuff.
And my dad's extremely supportive of that, even though he is the prophet of the AUB. He is very supportive. He kind of hit a point where he was just like, they have to believe in, what are you smirking at? They have to believe in Christ. That's what he wants them to believe in. So he will go to a lot of those kind of events. What are you smirking at, you little...
Nothing, I just see if my brother husband's on here.
Oh, jeez.
Another quick...
So he calls my ex-husband his brother husband.
Since they've got sister wives.
Since women have sister wives, he calls them brother husband. So anyways, for those parties, do you need the staff? Yeah, I'm the staff. Corey's the staff. Is it true Cody says the man can't leave the woman even if he wants to? It has to be the woman. No, that's not true.
He can leave anytime.
A lot of men leave, and yeah.
Pure ego. If you do leave, you're basically not going to make it to the highest degree.
Right, right. What's your dad's name? Dave Watson. So he is actually the leader or prophet or whatever. I probably should. Or in Corey's words, PSR, prophet, seer, and revelator.
PSR.
Oh, you touch your chin a lot when remembering fond memories. It's really cute. Oh, thanks. Let's see. They left the AUB. Yep, we got married in 2001. So I left the AUB, I was 25. So I left in 2000. And then you left like 94. Corey was gone a lot, way before me.
Yeah.
Do you practice polygamy? Just joined. Sorry if this is already... Nope, we don't. Nope, we're just born and raised in it. Have you visited other church? Okay, I think we're caught up on that question. I'm sorry I was late. I was playing with my baby cousin. Did you know of Lynn Thompson, the prior prophet? Yes, I knew him very well, very personally, on a very personal level. He is one of the main reasons I left the polygamist church in the first place. We used to go to their family Sunday school, and my 2-year-old little girl was just sitting on the couch, and he was looking at her in a very inappropriate way. And I just looked at her one day and I just thought, I can't have this life for her. I don't want her to grow up the way that I've grown up. I don't want her to feel as unimportant as I have felt. And so that was really like the defining moment that made me say, I'm done.
I had seen him in pictures of the council members and stuff, but I never knew him personally.
Yeah.
Because we were up in Montana, he was down here. My mom knew him, my dad, I guess, but I never did.
Yeah. Do you have a relationship with your ex? No, not at all. Got that last child support payment, and I was like, never talk to me again.
I have more of a relationship with him than she does. So.
Corey's a nice man, and he tries really hard for the kids, and I do too, but my ex-husband has a lot of addictions and goes in and out of jail a lot. So was I saying barber and it's Darger? Oh yeah. So Mary is a barber. So that's why I thought you were talking about Mary's barber family. But yes, we know a ton of Dargers, related to a ton of them.
Yeah, she's definitely related. I like the Dargers.
Yeah. Do you consider yourselves Christian? Do you believe in Christ or just God, or is that? Yeah. Yep. We just believe in being good people and following no denomination that is a church made by a man.
Yep.
How's divorce seen in the eyes of the church?
How was my divorce seen in the eyes of the church, or just
In general.
divorce in general? I mean, honestly, I tell this story because it's kind of funny, but my ex-husband and I were sitting in the celestial room in the temple, in the polygamist temple, and literally, you're laughing at that comment. There's a comment.
Yep.
And the prophet had gotten up and he was marrying my dad to someone else's ex-wife. And he got up and said, we're a bunch of wife swappers. They claim we're wife swappers, but
Hey,
we're
Mr.
not.
Lee, I am available.
Oh my gosh, you're so funny. And my ex-husband and I were the only two in that room that hadn't been married to somebody else. So divorce is very prevalent in the AUB. Why are there so many prophets? Don't people realize that they are all false? Yep. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink the Kool-Aid.
Hey.
Is that handsome man next to you available? I just received an invite to a Diddy party. Oh my gosh, you're so funny.
That's why I was laughing. Yeah, I am available.
Yeah.
For you,
For
Mr.
you, he
Lee.
is. That's why Brady Williams and his family left the church. Yeah, I think so too. Way to go. I love that you made that change for your daughter. So brave. Honestly, my daughter just got married, and that was the word I used for her marriage, was that she's the one who taught me how to be brave and come up with the courage enough to leave, because I don't know that I ever would have been able to do that on my own. But just watching her be in that vulnerable state of a 2-year-old, and just knowing that I just did not want that for her. Lynn Thompson is Christine's daughter Aspen's husband's great uncle. I don't know. I don't think so. Oh,
I don't have a genealogy sheet.
he is. I see the connection. Yeah. So because Mitch's dad,
Yeah.
his grandpa is Lynn Thompson's brother.
Uncle. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. So, and I used to call Mitch's grandpa my grandpa, because my dad is married to one of.
What if one of your kids wanted to return to the AUB and polygamy?
I would do everything in my power to talk them out of it. There's no question. No question whatsoever. I would do every single thing I could to get them to talk them out of that.
Do you think any of you guys would want to join the AUB?
No, my kids have been so far removed away from it.
We've raised them pretty intelligent. They can see the same things that we saw. I mean, same things I saw growing up in it.
Yeah.
There were you get the great connection with brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, all of that stuff. I've appreciated that.
Yeah.
But they've grown up seeing the negative side of it and don't want anything to do with it. So.
Yeah. No, I would do every single thing I could within my human. I mean, I am
I'd
very much.
support my kids in everything, but
That's
that
what
was
he's
one of my arguments that I would be like, really? Tell me why. Show me.
Right.
So
that's a hard one. How can Cody be the way he's been with his kids and justified not be responsible for anything? How do a lot of men do it? A lot of men do it. Not just polygamous men, but a lot of.
There is such a victim mentality in that small group where they're victimized and they're going to be victimized no matter what. And so
Yeah.
she's such a victim, and he's her protecting hero against his own kids.
He's got
no
narcissistic
sense.
tendencies, and she's a victim. So how does the prophet chosen? It's supposed to be
Rock,
by.
paper, scissors.
No, that's not true.
Hunter.
Don't say that one. But no, it's not. It's supposed to be based on seniority, very similar to the LDS churches. But AUB makes up their own rules as they go along, and it just depends on who the current prophet is. It just depends on how they want to handle it. Nothing is.
My child's disciplining me.
Who from Sister Wives did you grow up with? I grew up with Christine, Mary, and Cody. Corey grew up with Robin,
And I knew Christine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew Christine's family and her brother. We'd play volleyball. We'd go out to their volleyball games and stuff. So I knew Christine and her family.
Well, and Cody and Mary stopped on their honeymoon at his house.
I
His mom was telling us
said
this
that they
over the
did.
weekend.
Yeah, I was like,
and his
really?
mom was like, yeah, you remember Cody and Mary came to our house on their honeymoon, right? And we were like, what? And then Christine and Cody went to their house on their honeymoon as well. Why are people...
Our bed and breakfast up there.
Yeah, apparently it's a bed and breakfast.
Because we have chicken
That's
and
hilarious.
potatoes, and turkeys.
Let's see.
Come up to see the farm.
Yeah. Please apply to the Mormon Stories podcast. Go to their website. Oh, I didn't even know. Yeah, I've never even done that. Mitch's sister, Vanessa Aldridge, she's on Seeking Sister Wives. Yes, she is. So Mitch's dad is married to one of my other, or I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. Let me totally wipe that out. Mitch's dad is siblings with one of my other mothers, and they're from the same mother, same father. My other mother is the oldest, and then Mitch's dad is the next oldest. So,
Why are people drawn to the cult and religion? I think because, I mean, and I can only talk about my parents. My mom was born in the Mormon Church, and she was basically going back to her roots of the Mormon Church. My grandparents weren't practicing polygamists, but she was basically had learned the truth. That's what my dad did too. He had joined the Mormon Church, thought it was true, and then started researching deeper into their histories,
origins.
Origins, and went, hey, yeah, we should probably still be living polygamy. So
yeah. And honestly, I did a podcast on this too. And I think a lot of it too is just back in the 60s and 70s, there was so much people that wanted that sense of belonging.
Mm-hmm.
And in Maslow's hierarchy, they talk about that belonging is like the next level of food, shelter, and water.
yeah.
And so a lot of them just, it's a sense of belonging. I don't want to answer this question, but I'm just going to be honest about it. Have you watched Escaping Polygamy with Jesse Rayners? His parents converted into, I can't see that whole question. Into the AUB. Yes, we did. And if honestly, I mean, everyone has their own story. Everyone has their own experience. I don't ever want to invalidate someone else's tragedy or trauma. That was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen on TV. And
We're glad they escaped.
And it was not, it was made for TV. They I literally know his wife's parents. They're good people. And so I don't ever want to discount someone else's trauma, but no.
They'd have helped him pack, so.
Yeah, so.
But I don't know the details of it. It's.
Yeah, I think that it's ridiculous and silly and stupid, and
I just think
a bunch of bullshit.
I'm more butt wounded that I grew up in AUB and I didn't get to join the priesthood protection
program
party or whatever it was and get my badges.
I know.
That tells you how much I was on the outside. So
it's so ridiculous. I mean, literally it's the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard of.
Similar to rock, paper, scissors.
People always say the Browns were excommunicated from the AUB. Can you explain? No, I think it was a mutual parting of ways. They were never excommunicated that I'm aware of. I could be wrong, but as far as I know, they were just. It was a parting of ways. The AUB didn't want them around as much as they didn't want to be around. So.
Well, and so what my parents were kind of drawn to also was the United Order part of it.
Yeah.
Where they could all live with light groups. It was that they believed that the end of the world was coming. They wanted to live in a commune where they all grew different parts of the community, did different things, and so the community itself could survive. So
yeah. Says, do you actively expose the horrible parts of the religion to educate others? Not really. I mean, honestly, the biggest part of it was just talking about my experiences growing up. That's why I started this channel. That's why I started, because that's why I made it notes to self, is because we make all those notes to ourselves growing up that, hey, I want to be like this. Hey, I don't want to be like that. And so that's the biggest reason I started it. And then I had a lot of people asking me to start commenting on Sister Wives. I wasn't going to do it. I had no intention of ever talking about it. But then people asked me questions and said, if please weigh in on this subject. And so we did last week, and my social media has blown up from it. And so we're doing these live Q&As for people to ask any sort of questions about it that they want to. But really, it's just more of us, more just to tell our own story about it. Why didn't the Browns want to be in the AUB besides distance? Well, I mean, Cody made that perfectly clear on that last episode where he's like, he's tired of their BS. Honestly, in my opinion, the AUB makes up the rules as they go along.
And they've gone through turmoil. I mean, when they started the show, Owen was the priesthood leader.
Oh, he was, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
Owen was the prophet. Yeah.
And they had a prophet, changed up everything. Then they had another prophet, changed more stuff. Now they're on to their next
Now they're
prophet.
on to my dad. Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, so really it's just, I don't get on here to try to just, the last live that we were on, we actually talked about some of the really good things about plural marriage too, that we experienced growing up. So it's not just to expose the horrible things.
Yeah, I would absolutely, and I feel like that we've discussed the negative things or the horrible things with our kids, nieces and nephews, just kind of anybody that wanted to hear. So, and we always use each other's, hey, do you want to be more like Dad? He got married at 30 or 17 and a half.
Do you want to be more like Mom and get married at 17?
And start having kids.
No.
You want to wait around and hang out?
Yeah.
More like Dad.
So we do. We try to use humor in a lot of the things that we explain to our kids too. So it's not, we want our children to make choices out of a love or a desire for a result or to obtain a goal, not because they're afraid of a consequence.
Yeah.
Are all polygamous men narcissistic? I think that they have narcissistic tendencies. I think narcissistic, like it gets, too many people get classified as narcissist, and they're not really. They just have some tendencies. And I think a lot of polygamous men have very narcissistic tendencies. And really, that goes into kind of that God complex that I was talking about in one of my videos, where their families only see them once every couple of nights, and so whenever they get home, they're treated like a king, and so then they get a God complex.
Well, and that is, you're raised up to be, to be the leader, so you're supposed to be raised up to have more of you're the leader, you're the guy who's going to have to take care of all these families, all these wives, all the kids, type thing. And so and then I like, in my case, I was looking at a bunch of different moms and my dad, and I was like, this is too hard. I see the arguments, I see the frustration, I see that he definitely loved a wife, and the other ones were part of his responsibility. And I'm like, no, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna marry one wife, somebody who I love, and I'm not gonna.
You love me?
Yep.
Thanks,
I'm not gonna
babe.
be responsible. Heck yeah, I hang around a lot. So yes, it's childhood training to be to always be thinking about what are you going to do to take care of, and you are the leader as the man. Your responsibility is to get these, so what you say what you say goes, type thing. And so because you are the one responsible, and so you should be the leader, and the women should listen to what you say.
See, there's some of that sarcasm that we were talking about earlier.
And it doesn't work in real life.
Somebody says Owen Allred. Yes, it was Owen Allred. They said too many Allreds, but it's because the AUB was established by the Allreds. It was established by Rulon Allred, and then it went to his brother Owen Allred. Is domestic violence common? Same rate as? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, same as the general population.
Yeah, I would almost say.
I would say yes.
I would say yes, and I would almost say it's almost a little bit more frequent. So I was beat on the regular by my parents, and so by my dad, I was beat every single time my dad came home.
And I would love to do the statistics on divorce too, because my belief system is divorce is higher within the AUB.
I would
love
that's
to do the
probably
calculations. True. I'd love to see what the calculations on there than outside. What is it? 50% out here. I think it's grown.
Yeah.
But I would say
you're probably right.
If they were honest with it, okay, I married this guy, it didn't work out. I'm married to this guy and moved up.
Well, look at my dad, for example.
So,
out of my dad's 7 wives, 1 divorced him. 2 are the only 2 that were not previously married. Mm-hmm. And then the other 5, they were previously married. Mm-hmm. And so if you just look at it from the current leadership of the AUB, then there's your statistic right there. Mm-hmm. Did the AUB talk much about sister wives? No, they wanted to pretend it wasn't even there. They did not want to be exposed, and Sister Wives was exposing them and bringing this conversation front and center, and they did not want that. Since the AUB doesn't allow black men to attain the priesthood, were you surprised TLC, I can't see the rest of that question. Did the show. I'm not sure the correlation there. So I'm not sure what that correlation would be with blacks holding the priesthood and then letting TLC do, because TLC does a lot of extreme shows. Amanda Ray from the Kingstons on YouTube, her paternal grandma is a Johnson. Yeah, there's so many different families in here. Someone said something about Kristen Decker. I wanted to answer that question. Where is that one? Let's see.
That is Olivia Katie. She said hi.
Yeah.
You probably already said it in the... Never mind, she's way ahead of me.
In the endorsed... probably in polygamous. Did you see that question about Kristen Decker? Did you see that question? Oh. Okay, question on beliefs. What does the religion believe that Native American role was in... I can't see that whole question. Was in the beginning. Well, that'd be yours. I'm no history buff.
I don't...
What does the religion believe that the Native American role was in the beginning of the church?
They were Lamanites, but they could absolutely be a part of the church.
Yeah.
Because the Lamanites were Laman and Lemuel were the brothers of Nephi and Sam, so they're all from the same family.
Yeah.
So.
Did you ever know of Kristen Decker? She's the daughter of Owen Allred and Christine Zach. Yeah, she was actually good friends with my mom growing up, and I knew her children growing up too. So yeah, she's written a couple books, and I thought it was a different question, but yeah. So yep, I have heard of her. Mm-hmm. Very familiar with her. Okay. Let's see. Originally Darger, okay. They endorsed narcissism as a way to fix problems in priesthood every Wednesday. Probably. A lot of the men have a lot of narcissistic tendencies, but I feel like that word gets labeled quite often, and maybe it doesn't always fit. I think a lot of LDS men in general have a God complex. Wives need to get them to heaven. I would tend to agree with that comment, to be honest.
Wives need to get them to heaven? Or they need to get wives to get to heaven?
They need to have wives to get to heaven is what I would assume that would be. But yeah. Let's see. There is a ton of Allreds, ton of Jessups. I mean, the church was founded by the Allreds, and then there's a ton of Jessups that married Allreds. Like, there's just a whole, and then Jensen's, yes. Let's see.
Well, it says that teaches that women are less than the men.
The LDS Church teaches that women are less than the men.
Yeah.
And
well, I think subservient. Yeah, they can't hold the priesthood. They can't do all that stuff. So I'm sure certain men are attracted to that.
Yeah. To that hierarchy.
Men with daughters are not attracted to that.
No.
Kick some other dude's butt thinking that my daughters are less than them.
Yeah. Leah Remini, your thoughts? I think she's brave. You know what? I started watching some of her stuff because I think she just recently left Scientology and now she's talking about it. And so, but I don't know. I haven't followed up on that. But that is something that I did want to follow up on because I've always really appreciated her perspective on things. Some of the Mormons and fundamentalists are hard workers. So I've lived, honestly, the fundamentalists are going to be some of the hardest workers that you know. I know my brothers are some of the most amazing.
We were trained from very young to work hard to build up. I mean, have a job, go out and work, get work ethic, work under different trades. So I knew how to install flooring.
Yeah.
I also was a brick mason growing up. I worked in the what was it? Medical field as a respiratory therapist. So I wanted to learn all the different trades so that I would have to be able to support myself and my family. So
what is the rules of polygamy? Oh my God, there's way too many. I can't even. That would be a loaded question. There's so many different rules. Someone from the Kingston group was on Sister Wives during the polygamy debate. Yeah, Colleen Snow. She was on there and she kind of talked about her experience of being abused.
There are many different rules in the polygamist, and certain rules are definitely taught, but they are enforced different ways for different families and different people and different. It is completely. Depends on who you are and who's in charge of the enforcement on the bishopric, how you're going to be treated. So. Yeah, it really is. And that's the unfortunate part is the AUB just really kind of makes those rules up according to your last name. And changes them
changes it at a whim. Where did the Dargers come from? I know the man was married to identical twins, and I thought of that. Oh, you're talking about Joe Darger. So I know Joe Darger very well. I love Joe Darger.
Can you saying that out loud?
He was one of, what?
Can you just be saying names like that?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
I worked with him for years, and he's a good man. I've always really liked him. I grew up with the twins. And we were always good friends. So I think he's a good guy.
I have amazing friends.
You what?
I have amazing friends that are Dargers. So.
Yeah, and half of my family are Dargers. Mm-hmm. So my grandma had 11 children and 2 of her daughters married Dargers. So half of my cousins are Dargers. She left many years ago, strong advocate exposing lies and crime. I think they're still talking about Kristen Decker. Remini left Scientology many, many years ago. Yeah, so I've been wanting to follow up on hers. Is politics discussed in church? It has been. Back in the day, I remember Owen Allred got up in church one day and kind of I was really young, I was way too young to vote yet, and gave like this speech about who to vote for. He's like, I'm not telling anybody who to vote for, I'm just saying these are some of the beliefs that we have that are in alignment with this person. And then I can't even remember who he named, but so
I'll tell you a story. When I was a kid, my dad was working with the campaign up in Montana for Ronald Reagan. And so we were little kids running around passing out buttons and encouraging people to vote and giving them yard signs and stuff. And up on the ranch or the AUB property, that he was told that they did not want yard signs and us kids going around and passing that out to the community, anybody in the community. So that's my experience growing up in it. And so
no, my experience is they didn't really try to sway your political
but sometimes
they would just give, hey, here's where our church goals are in alignment with this candidate, but they don't tell you have to vote for. At least that's my experience. It could have changed since then. I can't imagine that my dad would do that, though. I'd be really surprised by that. So somebody says, is blanket training babies common? I don't know what blanket training is. I'm sorry. So I'm going to say, I don't know. So,
probably not if she doesn't know about it.
I know. Let's see. Colleen's mom got kicked out of the group and is no longer a member. Colleen Snow from the Kingston groups. How can they say that they're divorces when they can only legally be married to one? They actually just call them a release. And so, but most of the world doesn't know what release means. So then that's why they refer to them as a divorce. But most of the time it's just called a release in the polygamist community. The higher ups say about Jeffrey Lundgren and Kirkland, Ohio. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about him. I don't even know who that is.
And we've been away for a while. Usually when you guys ask me questions about certain people, then I call mom and say, do you even know this person? But
yeah, I'll call my mom and ask, but his mom knows more people than
about Pinesdale.
Yeah, my mom's just kind of,
Montana.
she definitely remembers a lot of people because she's been around since the beginning of AUB. Both of our mothers have been around since the very beginning of AUB. And do you think the AUB will exist in 25 years?
Most likely.
Most likely, I would say so. There's too much indoctrination that happens, and there is there's a lot of money to be collected.
Yeah.
So there's one of my sarcastic. Let's see, then legally marry one, why not just have the covenant with all? Just curious, I'm not trying to be rude. No question, no, not rude at all. Then legally marry one, why not? So my dad for about 20 years did not have a legal wife. And then one day he just decided, I'm going to go marry this woman legally and not tell any of my other wives. So he just went and legally married one, and my mom didn't know for almost 6 months. So it does happen. And it's in my opinion, either just don't have a legal wife or set your family finances up in a way that every wife is taken care of and her children are taken care of in the event that something should happen to you as the man.
And my dad was legally married to his first wife because they were legally married
before he joined the polygamist group.
Before he even joined. And then when the first wife passed away, then he married another wife, and it was the wife that had the youngest kids. And so it was so that those kids had all of his medical benefits and
all
stuff
of his
like
VA
that.
benefits.
Because when the first wife died, most of the kids were over the age of 18, but they did have two younger kids, a couple of younger kids with one of his wives. So he legally married her so that it could protect his youngest kids could get some of the benefits. And we get some of his VA benefits allowed us to
some of the kids to go to college.
So that was amazing because of Dad's VA benefits. A lot of my brothers and sisters have been able to go to college.
Yeah.
On the bill, the VA bill or whatever it is. So.
Yeah. Somebody says, I don't understand how. Oh crap! It just jumped. I don't understand how they could have.
Absolutely, you can get shunned.
Do people get
AUB.
shunned? Yes.
Absolutely, they do. My family, just because we were outsiders, my dad and those guys were outsiders when they came in, I guess didn't learn the lesson on shunning. So as some of us moved away or were asked to leave, they still communicated with us. We were still welcome up at the house. They weren't shunning us. But my dad did a lot of things that the priesthood council didn't approve of.
Well, and I kind of had like one of my, I felt that way, yes, growing up. I got shunned a little bit, and especially when I left the AUB the first time, I got shunned a lot because I was the first one. You know, my grandmother had 11 children, 90% of them lived plural marriage, 350 grandchildren. I'm the first one to get married in polygamy and the first one to leave. And I got shunned a lot because of that. It was really painful. And the majority of the shunning came from my grandma and a lot of her own. So they were my own family members that shunned me. And it was really, it was very hard to go through. In fact, I went to an event last night with a bunch of AUB people and kind of got snubbed a little bit there. And I forget sometimes that I have this podcast and been talking about stuff. And so when I got there, it was like I didn't even think about it. And I just went up to this woman and said hi to her. I've known her my entire life. Her daughter is on one of these TV shows. And I never expected to be treated that way by her last night. And it was actually a little stunning because I've known her since I was 10. And she's always been so sweet to me. Every time I see her, she'll come up to me. Melanie just loves me.
And shunning is when the priesthood leaders, I guess, or people up there ignore you when you come about.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't anything different from being raised in Pinesdale.
Yeah, really.
So we were an odd family out. We were shunned while we were there. So when we left, it was no different. We just weren't shunned by our own family.
Yeah.
And then I made good friends up there, and so I've always just kept in touch with them, and most of my friends were also shunned and have all left,
but they got up in church and told people to publicly shun you.
Yeah, shamed me in church. It was awesome. So
yeah, I mean, talk about a bunch of
it was awesome. I was excited. I was getting talked about in church. I know it was bad, but
oh my God,
people are talking about me.
Do older men marry younger teen girls in the AUB? I was 8 days into 17. He was 25. That was a huge age gap at that time. Yes, they do. I have an uncle who married a girl, I want to say she was 35 years his junior. She was barely 18. And so he would have been in his late 40s, early 50s. So yes, I do know that happened. My grandpa has one of those. That was, he was 70 or 68 and married a 20-year-old. So yeah, it does happen. Melanie, did you have a sister wife in your first marriage? So close, so close. No, the minute we got married, he instantly started looking for wife number 2. And then after I had my first child, we started courting a girl. We got pretty close. And then I found out I was pregnant again, and I just put a stop on it and got really, I literally got shamed by the prophet himself for it. And so yeah, I just said, nope, just don't want to do it right now. Maybe we'll revisit this later when I'm not pregnant. I was 18, she was 16, and he was 27 when we were doing that. And so she was way too young. And I mean, I was way too young, and I was pregnant with baby number 2, and I just didn't want to go forward at that point. And so, yeah, it was very predatory, it felt to me. So
I know that.
Let's see. I know they had, yes, did we watch Daughters of the Cult? Yes, we did. In fact, Corey's mom was here over the weekend, and we rewatched it with her because she had never seen it before.
And she actually went to Ruland's funeral, and so was down there at the building, and she was like, I was amazed that there were so many cops around. She didn't realize that the cops are really the ones that turned back the hit, because if they hadn't been there.
Yeah, all 4 of our parents were at that funeral.
Were at that funeral, so.
Yep.
Might have got shut up.
Yeah, so Punk Rock Polygamist tells the story of having the locks changed to prevent their access to what? What's the rest of that question?
Is this common?
In the what?
Is it common?
Oh, in their temple? I guess I'm not sure what that question means. Tells the story of having the locks changed. I did hear a story similar to that about the Arizona group, that they changed the locks to the temple because,
They did up in Pinesdale too, the church, and it's because there was a split within the AUB, and there was a group, but they were all using the same church house, and I think the AUB wanted to wield its authority and change the locks so that people just couldn't come in and use the church who were no longer a part of
who were no
church,
longer in good
still
standing.
lived on the property.
Yep. Yeah, I love Punk Rock Polygamist too. He is amazing. Okay, I know the difference between 2. I just watched the documentary. Yeah, 16, that's a child. It absolutely is a child. There's no question about that.
Difference between the 2?
When we were courting that second wife. There's no question about that. I mean, I was engaged at 16 and got married 8 days into 17. So it is. Aaron says, has your dad welcomed you guys back in? He is famous for welcoming everyone. He's begged us to come back in several times. He's really tried to get us to come back in. And when he asked Corey to come back in, I was like, Dad, you guys excommunicated him. He's like, oh, no, we would never have done that. And then Cory pulled out his actual excommunication letters. My dad's like, oh, we wouldn't have done that. And then asked to get a copy of it. But I've seen his signature on a few excommunication papers. So, but yes, he would definitely, I don't know,
He's
now that I
very
started
welcome.
my
He's a very
podcast, I think
welcome
he
guy.
still would, though, if I really genuinely tried to. I've actually kept my distance from my dad over the last year. And so I haven't been in communication with him very much because of other things besides this. But yes, would we be able to go back in? Probably, if we wanted to. Erbil thought he was the strongest and only prophet, and all else had to go. And honestly, it was a tithing battle too. They really needed, like, he even wrote a letter to the President of the United States demanding that the President of the United States pay him tithing.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Carter. And so that was really what it was that Reuel Allred was stepping on tithing funds that he felt belonged to him. So, just saw your video, and I'm going to have to go watch the show. Never seen it. It's very interesting. I'm actually friends with Cecilia, one of the girls who did that documentary. We've connected. How do they treat those with special needs in the AUB? I think it depends on the family. I don't think there's like a generalization of like you have to treat these people, because I grew up and there was a couple of different special education. I'm used to saying that because we have a kid like that, but they're special needs, and they were treated with, everyone loved them. Everyone treated them with, this one particular boy with so much love and so much affection. Every time he came around, everyone loved him. And when he passed, his funeral was one of the biggest funerals I've ever been to. So I think it just depends on the family, honestly. So
My parents treated me very well.
So these dudes just volunteer their daughters to get these other guys. Yeah, pretty much. That's what it feels like, yeah.
Trade for trade.
Trade for trade, yeah. And we say that flippantly and lightly, but sometimes it really does happen that way. I know of a couple of situations where it's I would absolutely say that's the case. And it's disgusting. It's hard to watch. It's frowned upon by some and accepted by others. Just depends on your last name. Like I said, I'll keep saying this throughout all of our lives. The AUB makes up their own rules as they go along. It depends on who the current prophet is depending on what the rules are at that time. So, and then they switch when that prophet dies. And that's why you get so many splits.
And they switch them up again.
Yeah, and that's why you get so many people who split, and they'll split families right down the middle, because one family member will believe this guy's crap, and then the other family member will be the other guy's crap.
Yeah. They roll out new rules. So
Let's see.
how do they justify their racism?
I don't know that racism is ever justifiable.
Yeah, it's their belief system and it's back to the beginning of the Mormon church. So
Yeah,
and
which is silly, because Joseph Smith, there was a couple of black people in the church, and Joseph Smith gave them the priesthood. It's ridiculous.
And so, yeah.
It's wild that the FLDS and the AUB split as recently as the 1950s. Yeah, that's about when the major split happened. No, I would say it was later than that. I would say it was more, because I know this is Cory's specialty, not mine.
Yeah,
but I would
did wipe out people.
Yeah, I would say
own
that
family.
it was in the 60s that the AUB and the FLDS split, maybe the later 60s.
Well, yeah, punk rock would be way better at this, but they were all council members. That's like saying,
They were all on the priesthood council
Yeah.
together of the same group.
it's saying this council members, when did they split? Well, it's when one council member decided that, hey, I'm the next leader, and the other council member's like, no, I'm the next leader, and they take a group of people with each of them.
So what do you think, guys, what do you guys think of the Hulu's Mom Talk Women?
Hulu Mom.
Yeah,
that?
the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
I like it.
I think swinging is a real thing in Utah. I know a ton of people who participate in those activities.
The Mormons are still living polygamy.
Yeah.
They're just doing it in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I think that I think it's crazy that happens. And I know a lot of women in the Mormon church who behave and act exactly the way those women do. So, was it the 50s? Aaron says it was the 50s.
What's that question?
Let's see.
I don't know. I was wondering if you knew that wife, because I don't know which wife.
Okay, do you have cousins in the FLDS? We don't, because both of our parents married into and converted into the AUB, but my other mother does, because her mom was one of the matriarchs that started the entire, she was one of the original Jessups. And so my other mother, they have a lot of family members in there, but we don't personally.
No, not my family. None of we have family members in the church, the LDS church, or who have left, but no. I have family members that are in the AUB, and that's it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, our parents just married in, but like I
weren't
said,
here long enough.
my other mother does, and it's very deeply ingrained.
Yeah, it's only one generation in our family.
Yeah. I have a long-dressed polygamist neighbor. I'm in the suburbs of Utah. Is this normal? Yeah, I see them all the time. Mm-hmm. We live in Salt Lake County as well, and I see them everywhere. And so,
we were those people up in Montana.
Yeah. Well, and we wore the long sleeves down here too. We didn't have the hairstyle that they all had. In fact, I took my daughter to a function last night that had a bunch of AUB members there, and she was like, what in the heck? Because that's not anything that she's been raised around. And, everyone has the long hair and the braids and all sorts of stuff, and they still do that in the AUB too. I have not followed her. She's recently joined. Is Christine as nice as she seems on TV? Absolutely, she is. She's wonderful.
And funny.
Very funny.
Great sense of humor.
Yeah. Let's see. Is there intermarriaging between the AUB and the FLDS and the Kingstons? Not so much the Kingstons, I don't think, but some FLDS and AUB, yes, there has been. I don't know if there has been with the Kingstons. I don't know. As far as I'm aware, there isn't. There's a lot of intermarrying.
Kingston should.
They should branch out. Yeah. They do a lot of family marriages, from what I understand there.
Their family trees aren't forking.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, but with the FLDS and the AUB, yes, I think there is some marriages that happen there. There's a lot more independent marriages. They call them independents, like the Dargers would be considered independent. They don't believe in a prophet or a church.
That was a joke, Kingstons.
I know, don't come after us, thanks. And so, yeah, but I would say, I think that the AUB has cracked down on that a lot harder, because a lot of independents came in and took a bunch of AUB girls out at one point. And so they have been cracking down on letting people come out. Let's see, there's marriage between half siblings, cousins, uncles, nieces, etc. I have seen some. Corey's eyes get really big. I mean, yes, I have seen some. I'm not going to say that it doesn't happen, but
You're married to your uncle?
I don't feel like it happens as often as it's portrayed on TV, or it's portrayed by these gossip columnists that want to sensationalize things.
But it does happen.
But it does happen. But it has happened, and I have
Probably
seen
not
it
as
happen.
much.
But just not. I don't think it's as frequent as they want to make it sound to be.
I think most people are like, "Are you kidding me? Don't you want to be a little bit further away from?" And so
Yeah.
it's so in every group, in every church, there are the normal people in every society. There's a normal people, and then there's a fringe group
Yeah.
of people. There are those radicals, and hey, I'm set aside to do whatever, blood atonement, or we need to keep our line. And so those radicals are the ones that
Yeah.
do stuff outside. And so, am I afraid? No, I'm not afraid. I think that, but could there be some
Yeah.
nutcase radical within any of these religions that go? Yeah. And so
Yeah.
I'm aware. I try to make myself very aware. I was raised by a military father, So I have situational awareness, and when I go to functions at the AUB, I stand with my back to the wall and
Come prepared.
I'm situationally aware.
But I feel like it's those fringe people that the gossip columnists and the whatever, they want to click onto that, and then they want to make it sound like everyone in the church is that way, when it's just not true. There's one or two people, or that make it, that are kind of bad apples, I guess, if you say.
People in the church are raising an eyebrow.
Even in the polygamist church, they're like, yeah, what are you doing? Get out of here. Have you ever been to the Wind Brown Ranch in Wyoming, where Cody grew up? A couple of times I have been. Have you ever been?
I've never been.
Oh yeah, I have been. So in fact, we were just talking about it this morning, about when I went up there right after I got married.
We had the United Order up there in Pinesdale, where we were growing all the stuff, and a lot of those communities were coming to Pinesdale to see how we'd set it up. We had a cattle farm, we had a dairy farm. Ours was the chicken and turkey farm, and then we had the acreage with the corn and the potatoes and alfalfa for the cows. So we would grow the alfalfa, and 3 times a year do the cuttings and put up the hay for the dairy farm and the cattle farm. So we were a functioning community up there, where everybody kind of had different skill levels. So a lot of those people would come and see us. But I never went out to their farm.
I did. I've been up there a couple of different times. My dad took his entire family up there, and I just got married, and I was like, I'm not doing that, Dad. I just barely got married. And he was like, yes, you are. Please come up there. So I was still 17. I did what I was told. I was. At one time I was his pride and joy, huh? Is college education the norm in the AUB? No. I don't think it's encouraged at all. I was really surprised to see the Browns encouraging their children to go to college as much as they were.
Yeah.
So
I've got a lot of siblings, and it was because of my dad's military that
then they were
college education. I didn't. I should have. When it came around to, I was too old when we were given the opportunity, but a lot of my younger brothers and siblings, my brothers and sisters, have gone to college. So a lot of college graduates in my family.
But it's not normally common. The more educated you are, the more informed and less ignorant you are, and then you will make different choices. You won't stay in the cult. What's the name of the show you watch with your mother-in-law? Daughters of the Cult.
You've been to it?
Yeah, and Corey's little sister just says, I can't believe you haven't been to the ranch. I've been there. So
Yeah, I never went to it.
Yeah, so a lot of his family did go there. Let's see.
I don't know if they were around when I got kicked out. Yeah, they were.
Yeah, I mean, because I got married in 91. For the first time, I got married in 91. And
we went down to the Southern Utah one. So BF and E.
Yeah, let's see. In a lot of ways, the Browns on TV probably helped those kids see college as a path. Absolutely. I was very stunned when I saw some of that. Benjamin Brown talks about labor trafficking. How common is this experience in the AUB? I've been talking to Ben a lot lately, and
we were expected to work.
We were all expected to work, for sure.
I need to become more aware of what. Yeah, we worked to help the family to make sure we had food on. Didn't want to starve, and didn't want to freeze in the winter, so we were out cutting the wood. And
I mean, you had to help with the family. It was a family thing, and so he grew up on a family farm. Once again, I never want to discredit someone else's trauma. I never want to discredit someone else's experience in me. We need to what?
Reintroduce ourselves.
Oh, we will in just a second here. But Rachel says, I beg to differ on your word, functioning community.
Yeah.
Rachel was, I see your point there, Rachel.
There was families that were doing that, and then the other. Yeah.
Somebody says, I'm new here from the FYP. Thank you for joining us. So we were both born and raised in the AUB. We are not practicing polygamists. We never have lived polygamy. I came pretty darn close with my ex-husband. We didn't. My dad's the current prophet of the AUB.
And she got married with her first husband. I never got married I've never been through their endowment house or their temple.
Yeah.
I left once I became an adult.
Yep.
So,
Yep. And so
with papers saying that I could leave.
Yeah, he got excommunicated and kicked out. They're like, get out of here. You're too.
Is that what that meant?
You're too
I just thought they were
attractive.
giving me papers saying I'm a pretty cool dude. I should be able to go out in the world and charm people and make myself funny to the world.
Yeah, Cory's little sister says Wynn Brown and Dad were really good friends from what I
Yeah.
heard. And Cory's mom just confirmed that this weekend, that they
Yeah.
were very good friends, which is why when Cody and Mary got married, they went up to their house for their honeymoon. And why when Cody and Christine got married, they went up there to their house.
I just never went with Dad out there. I went back on the East Coast with him.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you still talk to your dad? I have taken a
the West
huge
Coast.
step back for my dad, just mostly because of some, I had a disabled brother who passed, and I was really disappointed in the way my dad has handled that situation. And it's been a really tragic situation for all of us to handle or to go through. And my dad has just been
Yeah, I'll ask
less than helpful.
Mom how
Yeah.
that relationship started.
Yeah, somebody says, I really like watching your lives. Thank you. Did your dad accept your divorce from your first husband? No, he didn't. And he was really upset about it. So my first husband had a very severe addiction, and I divorced him for adultery. And when I left, I didn't know how to leave. I didn't know how to get it. So when I hear Janelle say, I don't know what to do, I'm just like here. That's how I felt too. I didn't know what to do. I wasn't legally married. And so I didn't know how to get divorced or released. And when I went to the leadership to ask for a release, my ex-husband was in the prophet's back pocket at the time, Owen Allred, and they were not going to give me a release. They just said, he needs to work on this addiction. He needs to work on this. And then we dealt with it for about 5 years till finally I was just like, I'm done. I don't want to deal with this. He's never going to give up this addiction. And I'm not willing to be in a relationship where I have to worry about my health all the time because he's out hiring people he shouldn't be hiring. And so then I just decided to leave. But when I started dating Cory, because Cory was in the AUB, he insisted that I got a release.
Insist if she was going to believe in it, and if her family was going to believe it, then it was their equivalent of a divorce. Why don't you get divorced before we get?
Well, he just thought
married?
my dad would never accept him either if I didn't get a release, because I would still technically be married in the eyes of the church to my ex-husband. So finally, after about 18 months or a little bit more of begging and begging and begging and begging, I finally just called Owen Allred one day and just said, listen, this will happen today. And I went in there and he gave me a release, and then Cory and I resumed dating at that point. But I was just going to be like Christine and just walk away because I just didn't care. I didn't believe in their authority anymore. It didn't matter to me. And then once we started dating, he just thought that would be better for us to handle that situation. We're going to talk about that in our how many siblings do you each have? There's 34 kids that I grew up with, and Cory had 27. So somebody says, Cory, I love that respect for something you don't even believe anymore. Yeah, and then Cory even went and asked my dad if he could date me. And my dad said no. I was 26. I'd been out of the family home for 10 years. And my dad says no. And he says she's going to stay married to her current husband, or she's going to marry somebody that already has a family and wives that can take care of her and her children. And so then Cory's like, oh, well, I guess we can't date. So Cory comes out and tells me, and I'm like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. And that was the first time I was almost 20. No, I was 26. And that was the first time I'd ever stood up to my dad. And I just told him no, that I would be dating Cory if I wanted to date Cory, and that he wouldn't be telling me what to do. And he said, absolutely not, young lady. You will marry a man that already has an established family that can just take care of you. So it's a funny story, long story, but that's part of like our origin story we'll talk about. Seeing Cody's treatment of the wives on TV, would they get a release? Yes, based on that. Absolutely, they would. Yep. And if they were to ask, it'd be no problem. They would get one.
Somebody asked if Janelle asked for it. Would take Janelle asking for the release, but yeah, she would probably go to her dad to ask for that.
Yeah. Somebody says, how long did it take Mary to get the release? What was the process? I don't know how long it took her to get the release. I just know after it was done, my dad called and talked to me about it the very next day. And so then I knew a little bit about it
I don't
when
know
it happened.
the process, but
You have to go in for interviews. Like, you've made an eternal commitment to this person.
And if you go on national TV and say, I don't care if she marries somebody else, then that usually is oh, okay, well, if she's going to say that on national TV, we'll give her a release. So.
Right.
And they probably all watched it too, watched the deterioration and went, yeah. But usually, if it's not on national TV, there's more of an interview process.
Right. Right. Were you shocked when Christine left the church being the granddaughter of the founder? I feel like that gets a lot of more, the majority of Ruland's kids didn't stay in the group. Mm-hmm. The majority of Owen's kids didn't stay in the group. So I feel like that got a lot more clout for TV than it actually mattered, because we were shocked that Christine left it being the grandson of Ruland. Most of the prophets' children don't stay in it because they see the hypocrisy.
The majority of her family didn't stay in it. The majority of my family didn't stay in it. There's a huge, because of the way they've been doing stuff, it's such hypocrisy, and you grow up with such hypocrisy on every level, and the kids grow up going, I got to find something different. I'm not going to hang around anymore.
Yeah. No, we do not practice polygamy right now.
Or ever.
Makes one wonder if TV didn't ruin that family and Robin. Yep. And they are no longer in the church. Why do they have to get a release, divorce, whatever it is?
They don't.
They don't have to. And that's what I felt like. I was no longer in the church, and I didn't feel like I needed one. But because I started dating Cory, who came from the same church, even though he was excommunicated, he felt like we needed to make that happen so that my dad eventually one day would be accepting of Cory.
Well, and also, you had children. It doesn't matter if you weren't married. You had to go through a divorce.
But
on this,
right. But at the time, I didn't know that, and I was considered common law marriage. So then I did file a divorce so that I could collect child support, so that I could collect part of the estate that we had.
And so she had to go through the divorce with the state because they had children together. Might as well go get it done with the.
Yeah. He said no, but it was okay to get married as a teen, right? That logic makes no sense, does it? Like, I was not very protected as a child, that's for sure. And, there's a whole other thing to that. But I feel like I feel like our life is starting to get a little bit longer. If Janelle were to ask for release, would Cody, Cody would be notified. I know.
Probably not involved.
Not involved in it because he doesn't care. But yeah, he was notified after the situation with Mary was done. Will your dad be the one to release Janelle? Yes, he would be. Somebody says, I love Pineville, but I can't imagine going there for a honeymoon. I know, but when you're broke, poor, and especially when you're a man and you have other wives and other children you have to consider financially for, you can't really take your, new wives unless TLC pays for an 11-day honeymoon, which is just ridiculous. If they don't have a legal marriage, then how do they not consider an adult? I don't know. I don't understand that question very well. Mm-hmm. Why weren't you legally married? Because I didn't feel like I needed to be. I didn't want the state, I was always taught the state shouldn't be involved in your legal matters, and we were just married through the church. So we were never legally married. And no, he didn't have another wife at the time. We just didn't think that it would matter.
Her and I were legally married.
We were legally married, yes. Oh. Let's see. How long did it take? Were you shocked when Christine? Yeah, so I think that shock factor of Christine
our kids being to be bastards.
Yeah, oh, Jesus. Fun fact: Cody Brown was on The Price is Right. They showed us the episode when they visited one time. Yeah, I knew. I remember that. Do you think Janelle will ask for a release? I don't. Unless she starts dating someone else or wants to be involved with someone else, she might consider it. But I don't think to her it doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. How did your ex continue to get away with his sinning? And your own dad ignored it? Because he was he was a good tithing payer. He was a very good tithing payer. And he made the most amount of money he had ever made the year before we got divorced, and he paid a lot of money into the church. And he was in a constant state of repentance all the time, and his heart was genuinely broken about his behavior. There's all my
And
sarcasm
money
coming in on
covers
that one,
a
huh?
plethora of sins.
Can you give an example of the hypocrisy of the church? Oh, Jesus, this could take us all night. There's a million.
Yes, I'll give you an example of the hypocrisy of the church. Their statement that we believe that we'll be punished for our own sins and not for Adam's transgression. And yet, if
a husband commits a sin,
and a wife decides to still stay with him and work through it with him, then she is
just as guilty.
Just as guilty as him, even though their main founder belief systems is a statement that everybody is guilty of their own sins, or whatever the statement.
One of the
is.
articles of faith says we believe in our own sins and not Adam.
That
we will
be
be held,
judged for our own sins and not for Adam's transgression. And yet, if she stays with him, then she's going to be judged for his transgression, his sins, and that'll be heaped upon her. It puts pressure on the woman to then leave the husband and get married to somebody else, a more worthy man within their thing, instead of allowing him to go through the repentance process. So,
and I wasn't allowing my ex-husband to go through the repentance process long enough. I mean, 4 or 5 years wasn't long enough. What is it? Okay. Are men or women more likely to leave, or do they leave at the same rate? I kind of think men leave a little bit more than women do.
Yeah.
In my experience, this is not in any way scientifically proven. This is just my own experience.
So my scientific thing is, I went to a polygamist school up until the 8th grade, and there were a group of us that were in there, half guys, half girls.
Yeah.
Most of the girls, it's a good majority of the girls married in my class, married. Some of them married as first wives, others married older men that were and became multiple wives. The guys, I think there were 2 of them that were still up there, and I think even one of them have left now.
Yeah.
But most of the guys that were in that class, the majority of them that were gone by the time they were adults.
Yeah.
So either run off or just were sick of it, and so.
Yeah. Somebody says,
that's the statistics.
What is Cody's other job on this other than the show? I have no idea. I don't know that much about them. I'm trying not to be gross, but y'all have noticed the cold sores that they get. I have a whole bunch of opinions about that, because that one girl can bring that into the family. One guy, I mean, typically it's going to be the woman, will bring that into the family, and then it spreads like wildfire. And then it's just so shitty for the other women who never had that, but now they do, because this one girl decided to bring it into their family.
Great line from Big Love, oral is moral.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry. We just watched that on Big Love, and that's his favorite tagline all week long.
That's why they get all the cold sores.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's where they get all the cold sores. What happens to the women when the men leave? They are told that they can either leave with him and they're just as guilty of the sin as he is, or they would have to get a release, and they don't have to ask for that release. They just automatically get one.
Given it.
Yeah, they're automatically given it, and then they marry amongst the other men in the group.
And if they stay with the man after they've been automatically given that release, then now they're living with him in sin.
Mm-hmm. I like this comment. The doctrine and the culture don't agree. I 100% agree with that. 100%. Somebody else says, I agree, men leave more. I think they do. I think a combination of things, because A, they ran off, or B, they get tired of this shit. I mean, I wouldn't live with 4 women.
Yeah, and majority, I mean, especially, it's interesting too, because if you've got, if your mother wasn't the favorite mother, you're not too pleased with seeing how your mother may have been treated, and
Right.
so you don't want to do any part of that, and you see how difficult it is. So
Yeah. So
you have a different respect, I guess, I think, for women and for the relationships.
right.
And so I left because I didn't want to ever live that way. I wanted to have respect for my wife. So.
Oh, thanks, babe. So yeah. And honestly, would Robin have been pushed on Cody by the church? Not necessarily. No, I don't think so. I think they just literally met at a party and he clicked with her.
She
and
had so many other suitors within the church. She even said
she
so.
might have.
She said
I could have
so
had
at
my
the
choice
beginning.
of a whole lot of men. That's the thing about women. When Robin said that, I know a lot of people really got after her for saying that, but it's true. There is a million other men that would have married her and they would have taken care of her. And there was a question about what happens when the old man dies and what happens to all the older women. The priesthood steps in and helps take care of them. And if they need to be put in a home, then they have, like, if they need extra help, living help, then they have a home for that they will help those women with. Will the AUB give Mary a release since she's not in the church anymore? Yeah. Yep, they already gave it to her. I love Big Love. Yeah, it's honestly, if for all of you that weren't here at the beginning of this live, there was somebody who interviewed my dad. So Punk Rock Polygamist, he's here on TikTok. Everybody look him up. He's amazing. He came from a polygamist group too. He brought it to my attention that my dad was interviewed by a guy named Brady Udall, and he wrote an article about my dad, and then he wrote a book called The Lonely Polygamist about my dad. And that was what the show Big Love was based upon.
He wrote the article called A Lonely Polygamist. And
then he wrote the book.
And then he wrote the book Big Love.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And so then, no, he wrote the book is called The Lonely Polygamist.
Thought it was just the article that was The Lonely Polygamist.
No, it's an actual book. And then, oh, maybe you're right. I don't know.
Yeah, I read the article. But...
Yeah. And then, no, he wrote a book. And then they loosely based Big Love on the book.
Okay.
So like his first wife in Big Love has cancer. My mom had cancer, uterine cancer. And so, yeah, I was unaware. So I verified that with my mom, and sure enough. So Big Love is loosely based around my dad.
Will Mary's release invalidate the other wives?
No, every
marriage,
every relationship is individual.
So if she gets a release, it won't cause
nope.
an issue.
It won't do anything to any of the other wives.
They each have to get their own individual release if they want to.
Yep. Yep. So they have to do that themselves. Let's see. I love the bluntness. Thank you. We watched Big Love, and I'm so fascinated. My husband thinks I. Yeah, it literally did give me a little bit of PTSD. We watched it again, and I was like, because I knew we were interviewed a lot as children. For some reason, my dad did a ton of interviews as kids, and I didn't realize that it actually turned into a book. So when Big Love premiered, my dad was in a room with all five of his wives, that he only had 5 at the time, all 5 of his wives and several reporters. And I didn't understand why they were doing that. But now that this new information has come to light about the Lonely Polygamist and Brady Udall, everyone can go check him out. Then yeah, and when I confirmed that with my mom, then yeah, there's a reason my dad was in a room with all of his wives and reporters watching the show. So, we had a pinned question, but it disappeared. What does your mom think about that? About the show? Well, what's funny is my dad pretended he never, like the first raunchy sex scene came on and my dad just instantly turned it off, and we laughed our butts off. We were like, why are we not in that room? I wanted to be a fly on the wall so bad when that happened, because I'm sure there was an audible gasp, and my dad turned it off and he's like, we don't support that kind of stuff. But then he would go to church on Sundays and come to our house afterwards and watch the episode with us. So I thought that was kind of funny. Let's see, that's too close to, do some of the men not legally marry any of their wives? Yeah, my dad was not legally married to anyone for 20 years. And then just one day he decided he's going to marry one of the wives legally and didn't tell any of the other wives. And my mom didn't know for almost 6 months that he had gone and got legally married. Where can we watch this Big Love show? I think it was on HBO, wasn't it? Yeah. HBO is where I think we saw it.
Do a Google search and it'll bring up where you can
it'll bring it up.
or if you rent it. 5 seasons of it. So
Cody said on the last episode that he never loved Mary. Bullshit. I was there when they were recording.
he said on the first episode he did. So
I know. Do some of the men not?
wishy-washy.
Yeah. So no, some of them just don't ever marry a legal wife. Just they don't feel the need to. Let's see.
He said love should be multiplied, not divided, and then he divided the shit out of it.
Oh my God. Does your dad speak for Heavenly Father on earth like some prophets, or is he just what's the rest of that?
PSR.
Or is he just the leader?
Yes, he would believe that he speaks for everyone. And like I said, after he became the prophet, I did ask him, what does God sound like, Dad, since you can hear him now? And he didn't think I was very funny. Not to be disrespectful of the process, but it felt a little silly to me. But what does your mom think about that, about the big love? She thought it was a little bit nuts. But did Christine believe that being the third wife is equal to the last wife? Yes, every single wife is supposed to be equal. There should never be a favorite. There should never be one wife. There always is, but there shouldn't be. And so Christine's voice should have been just as valid as anyone else's. And I just put a TikTok up, I think this morning, or maybe it was last night, about the marriage process and how the last wife is the one to give the new wife to the husband. So that is too close to home, and we asked you to watch and react. Oops, sorry. No, we're here for it. That's what we're doing. Let's see. Is your mom still married to your dad? No, she left my dad a few years ago. She has not tried to get a release. But how do you get a release from the guy who's supposed to give you the release?
Mm-hmm. I'd like to get a release from you.
Yeah.
No, not gonna do it.
I didn't do anything wrong. It's all your fault. Where's the compound in Montana? It's about 15 miles outside of Missoula.
Called Pinesdale, Montana.
Was the legal wife the legal wife your dad married a favorite of his? Absolutely, she was. She is. So does the Cody still have the 3 wives in the eyes of the church? Nope. Nope, he does not. All right, we're just going to get to a few more questions and we're going to wrap it up because we love these Q&As, but oh my gosh, they go by so fast, and then all of a sudden we're 2 hours in and we're like, what the heck? Oh my gosh, we're almost 3 hours in? What in the heck? Christine didn't want him to marry Robin. Why did he do it? That is extremely common, where one of the wives says no. I used to live in Florence, Montana. Yeah, right down the street from there. Mm-hmm. Right down. That is extremely common in the polygamist group. All wives are supposed to be in harmony, and they should all have a say, and they should all agree or they should not agree. And this is taught, but it's never practiced. And my dad.
That would just make her out of harmony for a little bit.
Yeah. No, it's disgusting.
So while you're out of harmony, I'll marry her, and then now you can come back in harmony and make it work.
Yeah, the one that my dad married legally, I was actually at that wedding and that sealing. That was where the prophet got up and said we're a bunch of wife swappers. My mom was there, but she didn't come into the room. She stayed outside. And then this last wife that he married, my mom didn't even know about it. So she didn't know about it until 6 months later.
We're all monogamous here.
Yep, we're all monogamous around here. So yeah.
Somebody asked if Cody would need to get 2 more wives if the belief system that he still lives by, if that's a belief system he still does, yes, then he'd need to get 2 more wives to make it into the heaven.
Yeah.
But you hear him talking quite a bit on there that he's happy with Robin. He'd probably be just satisfied just to be a monogamist, and he might make it to the 2nd degree of glory or third degree of glory. He might not make it all the way to the top, but
yeah,
at least he'll be with Robin.
I know he's got to have that. Oh my gosh, we have almost 400 people on here. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate that. We're going to be doing lives every Monday night after the show. The show comes on here Sunday nights at 11 p.m. So we'll do the live on Monday nights. And then we're going to probably do a Thursday or a Friday, just a generalized question about our lives for anyone who has questions about our lives. But Monday nights will be a recap on the Sister Wives show that we've watched. And then we'll just kind of go into some of the things that we might have seen on the show that maybe not be, you know, something other people in general might not notice that we see. Oh, thanks, Diane. Oh, he's so pretty with his blue eyes. But so watch for those lives. I'm always creating the events for the lives, and then I'll do like a little video that just says, hey, here comes our live. Make sure you log on for it. So please watch for those. If you feel so inclined, you can register. We have been getting tons of people registering, but you can register for it, and then it will put it right into your calendar for you and remind you if you're not on TikTok at the moment. But we appreciate all of these. I am reposting all of these lives on my podcast channel on YouTube. It's called Notes to Self 444. And so I've reposted the last 3 lives. We've only done 3 lives. This is our 4th one. And so we are actually trying to get a new system too, where we can post them to YouTube a little bit in a more friendly format. But we're new, so we're figuring that out.
How close is it to Mormonism? They actually claim the AUB. They claim it's the original
Mormonism,
so that they can trace their ideologies all the way back to Joseph Smith. That the LDS, mainstream LDS church has veered off of the path of the original. So they claim all the way back to Joseph Smith.
Yeah, they claim they're the original and the LDS church is the one who's veered away. Yeah. But yeah, podcast in the future. Yep, I do have a podcast. I've started on Notes to Self 444. You can find it on Spotify or you can find it on YouTube. YouTube, I've got the video. Spotify, I believe, is just audio. So yeah, check them out if you want to, and then watch for those links for our lives and go ahead and register. But
looking in a hat, all based on a con man looking in a hat.
There you go. Look how many lives have been changed by that. But we thank you guys so much. We really appreciate all the gifts that everyone gave us, and we appreciate everyone taking the time out. We thank our daughter for coming home from work and going right into moderation for us, and then we totally love Cory's little sister.
Yeah. Thanks, Katie. Disciplining me for saying rude things. So she's giving me the eye over there. So.
Okay, we'll catch you guys on Monday. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, guys. See ya.